The town of Valman, a family of farmers, was about to be attacked by a green slug. Hecazaldoria is an island country formerly known as Japan. In ancient times, monsters did not exist, but after their appearance, they spread in the blink of an eye. Now about 80% of the land is uninhabitable due to the high level of danger. Simultaneously with the birth of monsters, people were divided into classes. Classes are assigned to a person from birth and help them to manage their lives properly. People of the classes warrior, fighter, cleric, brigand, merchant, hunter, and sorcerer are considered gifted. Finally, most people are qualified as powerless, such as those who develop cities or work in hotels. The powerless class is the peasants. The family's call was answered by a boy who decided to help them. He managed to save the father and son from the monster by hitting it with a rock. The savior asked if they were okay and collected the coins. He assumed that all was well. The family did not understand how he had managed to save them. He replied that he had simply thrown a stone. The boy handed the boy a sack containing 100 bronze coins that a slug had dropped. He believed it belonged to them. The boy got 100 bronze for defeating the slug. Isn't that great? He shook his head, thinking that the peasant could not defeat the green slug, even though the savior offered to buy him sweets and toys. The boy decided to head back to town. The boy asked at the last moment if he was a hero. He calmly admitted that he was not. The boy's name was Kagami Koji. He is a peasant of level 999. Peasant is the weakest class. The guy was thinking about having meat for lunch. A crowd of indignant people arose in the city. They didn't understand why they had to cling to the strong to survive, why the monsters were still here, and why their children had to hold swords. The hero thought it was all because of the monsters. Monsters are the servants of demons. Until they kill the king of monsters, there will be no peace. Koji wondered the reason for such a commotion. He overheard a conversation between two peasants who were excited about the hero's party. One of them thought about joining them, but his comrade thought it was foolish. He is just a peasant. The peasant replied that if their levels were high enough, they could become very strong. The fellow wondered if he could raise his level. Koji knew that was what most people thought. Ancient cave. The guy's goal had been discovered. He engaged in a battle with a blue demon. Koji was surprised at the large number of monsters today. The guy remembered the summoning block located somewhere around here. He had better find it before it was destroyed and have a feast in honor of killing all the monsters. But they would still be reborn. But because of that, he can complete so many quests. Koji thought he heard more monsters, so he headed over there. It turned out that the heroes were doing battle in that place. They had killed his blue demon. The guy wasn't happy with the heroes here. They had better be capturing demon castles. A girl on the team suggested that Rex go further, but he thought they were on the right track. Koji suggested that he was better off. What was his goal? It didn't matter. Taking his blue demon without any shame. The guy found some small group. He called it a good catch. What was left of the monster was a blue demon horn, a rare item that cancelled the hostility of monsters for the host as long as the horn contained magical energy. Koji had a good day today. There were still many rare monsters. It was strange that he had encountered them. There were only 3 blue demons left in this quest. Looks like he'll finish sooner than he thought. He thought about sushi for dinner. Not much, but sushi nonetheless. A girl ran next to the guy. Koji was surprised that she was here. He informed her that she was going straight to the monsters, but the girl didn't listen to him. The monsters stopped and let her pass, but they reacted to the guy, which angered him. He considered going after her. 5 minutes later, Koji thought he had missed her and was surprised at the kid's speed. He saw a light in front of him and assumed it was an exit. As it turned out, there were too many monsters here. He heard a child screaming and realized it was the girl. She was standing fearfully in front of the group of heroes. Rex was explaining to her that this place belonged to the royal family, that someone like her, forgotten in this place. The girl called out for her daddy. By this time, Koji had come up. He inquired as to the reason why the boys had pounced on her. Rex didn't realize what he was doing here. The guy called himself just a passerby and showed his status at his request. Rex thought he was lying. He couldn't have survived such an attack. The girl in the group was sure that this girl was definitely a demon. Koji understood that. He was asked if he would protect her even knowing that. They wanted to know what he was trying to hide. Ancient caves. A little earlier, the heroes team. When Rex was called on the road, he continued to marvel at himself. After all, he is a hero. Tina replied that even so, there are plenty of monsters around. Palna worried about Oheim-sama. Kururu, breathing heavily, asked them to stop. Palna felt that she shouldn't put so much strain on herself. The girl didn't think it would work out this way. She had always wanted to free humanity from the oppression of the Demon King. Once upon a time, there were more than 196 countries in this world. But with the appearance of demons and monsters, there were only 3 left. Tina knew that the reason was because of the decrease in the number of places suitable for living. Hiryu stated that because of the Demon King, the monster army had taken away their lands. They should give them back, for the sake of peace and prosperity of all mankind. Palna called Ohime-sama so loyal. The girl asked to stop calling her that. Her name is Kanazuki Kiryu, and she's from Hekazeldoria. Magu thought it was too long. She will call her Ku-chan. Palna inquired about Rex's actions. The boy found that the cave went farther away. Palna assumed that the thing that would help them in the quest was right there. Rex decided to explain. According to legends, a sacred sword handed down by the royal family rests in these caves. A sword that can only be used by a hero of level 90, which is what he had. Palna inquired how he knew that. The boy replied that Kiryu was the princess of this country. The king was happy to tell him about it. On arriving at the place where the sword should be, the girl did not find it. The team of heroes were surprised at her appearance. Kiryu felt this magical power. She was sure that it was definitely a demon. They also did not find the sacred sword and thought that she, the demon, had stolen it. This place belongs to the royal family. The girl asked Rex to calm down. The boy, angry, struck with all his might with the sword. Kagami managed to cover the girl with his sword. He asked why they had attacked her. The hero wanted to know who he was. The guy introduced himself as just a passing peasant. Rex was sure he was lying and asked to see his status. The team realized that he was indeed a peasant. Kiryu found it hard to believe. He was completely unharmed. However, this girl is a demon. Did he deliberately protect her? She asked what they were going to steal. Koji decided to lie. He admitted that this girl is not a demon. She was his little sister. They found it suspicious that she was born with horns. The guy made up that he made them himself. They're accessories. They attach right to the head. Seeing that they found it hard to believe, he tried to prove that they were made from the horn of a blue demon. Palna concluded that this explained the magical power. Guy hammered it into a nearby object. Rex realized that it was the legendary throne that sealed the sacred sword, not some cheap artifact he could deface with his brute strength. Kagami replied that it wasn't difficult. Kiryu asked if he thought such a silly explanation might fool someone, but she admitted that it was a bit ridiculous. If that was how he was trying to explain it, then it was what it was. The boy rejoiced at his apt description. The princess decided that they didn't want to discuss the matter any further. Rex added that however the sacred sword was another matter. He wanted to know what his sister was doing in that room, and she accidentally tripped. At the same time that the sacred sword went missing. It seems to be just a coincidence. Kagami admitted that it was indeed just a coincidence. What's all the fuss about that sacred sword? Rex claimed to be a hero, the chosen one. There is only one person who can wield the sacred sword. Koji realized that this was his fault. If he is talking about the sword, he had recently found it and sold it. Rex cried out in horror. He thought it was a lie. Only a hero is capable of wielding the sacred sword of the royal family. It was impossible that a peasant was capable of taking it away. Koji admitted that it was a bit difficult, but he didn't actually take it away. He carried the throne away. The guy decided to show them and picked it up. He proved to them that it was possible. Rex excitedly asked his level. Koji voiced it. The hero considered that it couldn't be. The only way to raise your level is to defeat a monster whose level is higher than yours. He had never heard of a peasant whose level was higher than level 30. For a peasant, it makes no sense for them to go to the battlefield to raise their level. It makes no sense for them to risk so much by trying to go beyond class characteristics. It is said that the highest peak was reached by a legendary hero whose level was 253rd. So as a simple peasant, how was he able to surpass such heights? Koji thinks it's because he fought monsters every day. The hero replied that he did too. Koji suggested that defeating them was probably the same. Rex didn't believe him. If it was a matter of quantity, he had defeated them the most, even in voluntary training. Koji finally got angry and asked him to shut up. He didn't care. This is life. He has to accept it. The guy was about to leave with the girl. Rex stopped him. He wondered, since he had such power, what was he doing with it? Maybe he would try to defeat the Demon King. Kagami wanted to live a normal life, to try to earn money. He thought it was right to leave the Demon King to them, the heroes. Rex resented hearing that. Guy assumes he has no idea how the world works. The hero didn't understand what he was trying to accomplish. Kiryu recalled that the sacred sword is the property of the royal family. Koji inquired about the reason why he was in the dungeon. He apologized for it and offered to forget. The girl offered him to join their team and help them in the battle against the Demon King. The boy refused. This surprised her. She wondered if he had thought about doing things that no one had ever done before. Koji admitted that he hadn't thought about it. All he has to do is return the sacred sword to them. He would help them in their quest, and they would put it down. Kiyoru continued to be surprised that he didn't crave fame and fortune, nor did he want to save thousands of suffering people. The guy didn't mind riches, but he doesn't want fame. Poor people he would help. The girl thought that then it should be enough to fight, and it was not enough for him. At the dawn of the Demon King's defeat, she would become his wife. Her statement affected Rex. Koji noticed that he cared more about others than his own well-being. The girl was still rejected. She wanted to know the reason. Kagami doesn't think that defeating the Demon King is a great feat. That's why he doesn't want to fight or help them. That's how he feels, so don't let it bother them too much. They're also not so right. Halna replied that she didn't understand and asked him to explain his reasoning. Koji felt that they would be meaningless until she realized it herself. Why not just forget what he was saying? Tina asked him for just a hint. He recalled how Kiyoru had said that there were people who suffered. The guy asked if she really thought he was selfish. They left. Rixa was still remembering how the bastard had said he had no idea how the world worked. The girl realized that he didn't know what kind of person he was. The hero has no idea, however. He knows something for sure. He must become stronger than this peasant. The two went outside and noticed that it was already dark. The boy sneezed. It was cooler, already better. The girl declared that he was just the man she was looking for. She tried to say something to him. A stranger suddenly asked to marry her. His parents didn't like the fact that Koji still wanted to fight monsters. If he is a peasant, he should behave himself and go to work. The boy tried to reassure his father. He can throw stones from afar. His level had risen. He found it hard to believe that a peasant could raise his level. Koji won't stop because slaying monsters was much more profitable than peasant work. Peasants are considered incapable of fighting monsters. Tailor, farmer, miner, baker. All of these are the work of peasants. Koji started defeating monsters when he was just a boy, and it was just incredible luck. Koji didn't know that by defeating monsters, you can get money. This earning was simply unbelievable compared to the meager income of a peasant. Koji could not give up such wealth, but then a doubt arose in him. He wondered why money was falling out of monsters. The girl thought he was the one she was looking for. She wants him to marry her. Koji didn't understand what this child was carrying. And anyway, what would a demon like her want with a sacred sword? She replied that it was her father. Her father was sick. She has heard rumors of a hero who has gone on a journey. The girl is afraid that he will kill her father if the sacred sword goes to him. The boy was surprised that the hero could slay her father with the sacred sword as a demon king. She replied that he's not like a demon king. He kind of is. A demon king. Koji was shocked to hear this. The girl was so sorry. She didn't try to hide it. This was the first time the boy had heard that this old man had a daughter. The girl thought that he knew her father, and that's why he didn't want to fight with him. Koji called it a matter of time. For the time being, it has been taken off. The child asked for help if he knew why it happened. She suggested that it was all because monsters are born from the horns of demons. Koji knows all about demon horns, but does she really think that the fact that she was born a demon is automatically her fault? She is no different from humans. The girl agreed, so she wants to see if it is possible for demons and humans to coexist peacefully. Koji realized why this child decided to marry. He decided to be frank. The kid thought it was impossible. Even if the demons don't do anything, the monsters will still attack humans, and the humans will continue to hate them. And the demons, after they stop attacking, will start cursing the humans. And even if we exclude the fact that monsters were created by demons, there are many people who know that demons are not so different from humans. It was hard for the girl to believe it. Koji explained the complex structure of this world. She did not understand what it meant or what this man knew. The child inquired about the reason for not wanting to kill demons. The boy explained it was because he was a fool. His reasoning surprised her. The girl followed him. Valman's outer wall. The boy finally did. He asked how long she was going to drag after him. She knew that only in this town could she buy medicine for her father. He realized that she had come to buy them. Koji concluded that she had no money. The boy wanted to know why she didn't hate people. The girl didn't think she should. If she only hated, nothing would change. After all, they are alike. Koji had never heard demons say that. The boy began to doubt that she was a little demoness. The girl thinks he's an unusual person. Her father also told her that there was hope that such people existed. Koji agreed. But still, they were a minority. The girl wasn't going to give up even so. The guy realized that it would be too dangerous for a demoness who had gone so far away from home to return alone to the castle. If it didn't take too long, Koji indicated that he had some time for her. He asked to come over for a second. The guy promised to buy some medicine and she would go with him. The girl couldn't feel her demonic aura. He pretended not to realize what she meant. She wanted to know what he had done. Turns out the guy had just covered the tips of her horns with something. The summoning blocks were very nasty things, and they spawned hordes of monsters. He was lucky enough to destroy one, and he obtained an S-rank mystic material. It gives demons the ability to change their physique. And then Koji remade the S-rank material into an amazing rare element called fabric. The girl, excited, asked if he could make one for all demons. The guy reminded her that he had made it from a very rare mystic material. As long as she kept it to herself, it would be fine. He suggested pulling on the hood and hurrying. The girl asked to tell what made the guy make it. It looks like it's specifically for demon horns. Koji noticed that he and her were similar in that respect. The girl was happy to hear about it. More importantly, he doesn't know her name yet. The girl's name was Alice Balnicio. He also introduced himself. The boy was insanely hungry, so he called out to Alice. She gladly went with him. Alice was afraid to be in a human city. So many people. She worried that they would find out about her secret. Koji offered her a taste of ice cream. The girl appreciated it. The boy admitted that it was usually eaten after a healthy meal, but today was a special occasion. The old man saw that the young lady liked it very much and offered to try it too. After that, other people offered many more all sorts of food. Koji had a hard time believing it. Alice thought so. One only has to meet people and you will understand them. She was sure that her father would definitely be proud of her. But soon people's lives wouldn't be the same. Koji decided to look for an inn for them. Alice realized that they couldn't afford such a luxury right now, but it would be so nice to sleep in a real bed. The first thing the girl did was jump on the bed. Koji needs to make sure he gets her home safe and sound, so now he's going to go get some medicine. And he'll also call his friend on their journey. This confused Alice. The guy complimented that if it was just a fight, he alone would be enough, but he would need someone else to protect her. If she didn't know, they would still have to defend themselves from the attacks of other wanderers. Koji left. She wished she could return sooner. Alice had forgotten that humans and demons couldn't live hand in hand. Because of what had happened recently, she had to remind herself of that. The girl thought that Kagami-san's friend must be a good thing. The guy informed Alice of his return and asked her to open the door. She was surprised that it had happened so soon. Behind the door stood a man of sturdy build. He admired the beautiful little creature before him. The girl was horrified. His name is Takako Builda. You can't tell at first glance, but he's a fighter. Kagami thought it was the opposite of obvious. He asked Alice not to worry. Takako-chan already knows about her race. Takako thought that he would never turn away from such a cute girl. Once upon a time long ago, he was severely injured and fell into the arms of death. A kind demon gave him a cure that saved his life. After all, humans and demons are not so different. When he thought about it, all the battles and hatred between them seemed so silly. Now he lived his life running a modest club and bar. The girl apologized for being scared of him at first. Her name is Alice. She hopes they will get along. Takako is sure they will get along. He told how one day Kagami-chan came to his bar as a visitor. From that day on, a special spiritual bond was formed between them. Alice noticed that they were getting along well. Koji jokingly hit him lightly, for which Takako really hit him back. He agreed and assumed that poor Alice-chan had been sleeping outside all this time. Takako suggested going to the hot springs, to which she agreed. Kagami-san would also go with them, but the guy decided to stay behind. He asked to cover his horns with this and wished the girls to have fun. Takako suggested that this their Kagami-chan didn't seem to like taking baths at all. As a woman, it's quite shocking to him. The fact that he calls himself a woman really shocked Alice. Kagami thought so. The little girl thought she was a man all this time. He thought back to her father. Her father hoped. He realizes that a villager doesn't need to know how to fight. Therefore, he should be a good boy and just do his work. He should strive to be a good tailor. If it's a slug or a moss-covered goblin, Koji can easily deal with it by throwing a rock from afar. But monsters of 4th level and above, such an attack has no effect on them. Fortunately, he was saved by a strong warrior. The villagers really are the weakest. Koji turned to the god, thinking that this was really unfair. At least he could let them decide who to be. The wagon came to an abrupt stop. Kagami called out to his father. The man looked over to him. Being one step away from death, he asked his son to run. The boy recalled it with horror. He tried to reassure himself that it was all in the past. Koji turned his attention to the sky. It seemed to Takako that Alice was terribly pale. The girl wanted to know exactly how Kagami-san had reached level 999. There are no monsters of a level higher than 500th. If another person with level 999 other than Kagami appears, he will try to kill her father. Takako replied that she had nothing to worry about. Other than Kagami-san, no one had reached the 999th level. Alice asked why she was so sure. It turned out to be because Kagami-chan is missing one important thing that every person should have. She thinks it makes him the biggest fool in the whole world. Alice didn't understand what that meant. What kind of person is he? What is Kagami thinking about? How did he become so strong? She wants to know. The girl asked me to tell her more about Kagami-san. She wants to know everything about him. Takako thought for a moment. She thinks that just asking for an answer isn't enough. After all, they just met. In time, they'll find out everything. It's much nicer to get to know each other that way. Since she says so, Alice thanked her. She would try and get to know them both better. Takako continued to admire her. She sat the girl on her shoulders and got ready to go to the hot springs. People noticed something strange in the sky. Monsters began to fall from the sky. Kagami thought it was a flock of hellcocks. Alice didn't understand what the Demon King's army was doing here. The army had launched an attack. The humans would fall before their might. From now and forever, the demons were getting bigger. The humans were going to kill them. Alice knew her father wouldn't want that to happen. Takako tried to comfort her. Valman is a town of adventurers. None of these people would be defeated so easily. And now the monsters are flying back. Takako was sure that only Kagami-san was capable of such a thing. If they find where they're flying from, they'll definitely find him. At this time, the guy raised the pig above him. He launched it back into the sky. The demon was surprised that the blood boar could fly. They all fly to the same place. He doubted the hero could do such a thing. Fuji noticed the commander and realized that he had to bring him down somehow. But first, he'd better find Alice and Takako. On the way he met Rex again. He wondered if the idiot was going to use one of the techniques here. Kagami piled on top of him along with the pig. People marveled at how easily he lifted the monsters. The guy tossed the creature. Rex wasn't happy to see him either. He asked to stop trying to show how great and strong he thought he was. Kyoru agreed with him. They need to unite and organize a counterattack. Koji suggested that's what all those bows, arrows, and crossbows are for. Palna added that the mages were also here. The boy thought the idea wasn't so bad, but too naive. First, he would praise him, Mr. Hero, for his powerful technique. What was he thinking when he wanted to kill the demon commander right away without capturing him for questioning? What about the princess's arrows? That's just awful. If you launch them at the target, they will fall on the city and cause more damage. They have no experience, but they have good intentions. Kyoru was hurt, but he's right. She was so worried about the monsters that she forgot about the city. Instead of protecting the people, she almost put them in even more danger. Since that was the case, Palma asked what they should do. How can he scatter monsters like that? He doesn't use magic, does he? At this point, Alice and Takako had arrived. Guy was glad that they were okay. Palna realized that she wasn't his little sister. Fuji replied that if she really was his sister, she wouldn't call him by his last name. He thought it was her condition that was more important. The boy saw that the girl was crying. Kagami calmed her down, promising to take care of it. The princess introduced herself as Kanazuki Kyoru Hakazuldoria. According to her, even if Kagami-san's power is noticed, she highly doubts that they will be able to demonstrate the full might of humanity's power if they do not work together. Guy felt that there was no need to go that far. We should just capture that demon. The Demon King's army doesn't know about their strength, so they will surprise them greatly, not even considering how organized their attack is. After a silence, Palna stated that that demon from above was a different case altogether. He asked her to calm down. When it comes to enemies, they must be defeated. Facing an enemy with uncertain intentions, the opponent needs to be suspicious of suspicious things, right? The team did not understand him. To Palna, it sounds like he knows more than he seems to. She began to believe more that this guy really knows something. Koji realized that Sis was hooked. Until that day, the Demon King's army had never attacked anyone. But while Daddy is asleep on the job, this execution looks too unnatural. It would be nice if one could just go up and ask him what he wants. Kagami-san decided to make a small digression. Alice inquired what he was going to do. He replied something like this. Koji and Takako acted in concert. Takako called it a free delivery of a special express service. Passenger protection is not guaranteed. She nudged the guy. The demon was increasingly surprised by this city. First monsters and now people flying. He felt like he had gone too far. It was a little unsettling. He doubted that this was a human city. Koji had successfully reached it. He thought he was going to die here. Damn gorilla. She'd better find a better target next time. The guy asked me to explain to him what this was all about. The demon didn't realize what the hell he was. Koji called himself just passing through. A peasant. He showed his level. The demon called it ridiculous. With such strength, he could hurt his demonic majesty as well. He wouldn't let him even lay a finger on his demonic majesty. The demon attacked Kagami-san. The guy suggested him not to be so nervous. The Demon King is an acquaintance of his, and he has no intentions of killing him or anything. The demon was surprised that his attack failed to destroy him, and such a peasant is supposedly acquainted with his demonic majesty. What nonsense. Koji knew that Alice was the king's daughter. For his information, he was now taking care of that child. The demon was also surprised that he even knew of Lady Alice's existence. If he is really looking after her, he can't ignore him. He asked if the guy was an ally of the demons. Koji replied that he was neither an enemy nor an ally, though he wouldn't say he's on the side of humans. The demon asked what he came here for then. He has a question. The Demon King that Kagami knows would not wish to destroy all humans. Yes, and his daughter said that he was sick, and in search of a cure for him, she ventured to such a faraway place. He inquired whether this attack was really the king's order. The demon did not believe that his majesty was ill. It was definitely his majesty's very own order. The guy decided to see if he was sure he had received it directly from him. If that was the case, then Koji really couldn't leave things like this. The demon was surprised that he was asking if the demon lord had actually ordered it. There shouldn't be anything unusual about it. His majesty sat on the throne. Standing next to it was his right-hand man, Lord Esteller. The demon remembered the lord saying that it was a royal order. He must attack the city of Valman. He realized that the orders did not come from his demonic majesty. Koji felt that it was too early to say for sure. The demon realized that, however, he was standing next to his demonic majesty. The guy said that it was too early to talk. But in truth, they don't know anything about the situation. It might actually be his true intentions, although there is a possibility that he was being manipulated. The demon didn't think that a great creature like his demonic majesty could be controlled. Koji recalled what he had said about probability. Reacting too sharply wouldn't help them. The demon decided that they should hurry to his majesty's castle. Guy took control of the monster they were flying. The demon advised them not to get in his way. Is he going to throw them into the forest? Koji saw the remaining hell crows. The demon inquired as to what he would do. The guy decided to deal with the whole flock of hell crows at once. Today seemed to be his lucky day. The demon didn't know what he was thinking. He's concerned about his demonic majesty's illness, and this is how he's acting. Why should a guy get in his way? Just as he thought, he's weaving some kind of conspiracy. Kagami-san asked him to calm down. If he continues like this, it will only get worse. The boy assumed he was being played for a fool. If he went to confirm his suspicions, he and the Demon King might be in danger. It was hard for the monster to carry such a burden. Koji thought it was better to completely destroy the attacking forces so that he could secretly return to the Demon King's castle. Besides, he really wants to take back all the money he got for destroying the Hell Crows. The demon said to leave him. A crow can't handle that much weight. At this rate, they will fall to the ground. The boy replied that if the demon didn't know, that was what he wanted. Koji tapped the raven with his foot, causing it to fail. The demon panicked. Now they're going down. How is the guy going to survive in a situation like this? Koji is confident that he'll be fine. He's probably going to be in a bit of pain though. The demon finally woke up. Kagami noticed that he looked good. He called him a monster and was surprised that the guy was still alive. Koji asked his name. His name was Mino Abrashar. He asked if the guy was not really going to kill him, the demon. Koji asked to finish with the idiotic questions. If he had no other choice, he would, but Mino seemed pretty reasonable and much more important. He was actually worried about the king and Alice, right? So he can't be such a bad guy. Mino marveled that he wasn't actually at loggerheads with the humans. Koji recognized that everything was so stupid because of all this. If there were no monsters around, they would all be able to get along with each other. Because monsters are born from the horns of demons, humans only wish for their death. Both humans and demons end up fighting each other because of fear. Guy thinks it's just sad. Now, since Koji has dealt with all his subordinates, he heads back. Sometime tomorrow afternoon, he'll stop by with Alice, and then the demon will go with him. Mino asked why a foolish man would take such a risk. The boy was surprised that he actually cared about him. The demon denied it. He just can't believe that Koji would go that far. The guy thought so, there's no way he'd be worried. Koji also wants to check the Demon King's condition. Mino will let him keep them company as long as Lady Alice is safe. He noticed that Mino really is a good guy. Alice will definitely be pleased. They will see each other tomorrow. The demon pondered the peasant's level-headedness. It's absurd, isn't it? It seems he won't be able to move for a while. But he's alive, and so is that idiot. Just a peasant passing by. For now, he'll just keep an eye on him. understand and coexist with humans. They fight because it's impossible. If it were possible, could they achieve peace? Mino realized that this was not something he should fantasize about. He hoped Lady Alice was safe. Hotel Valman. Koji yawned. He saw the smirk on the girl's face. She was grateful to Kagami-san for talking to Mino properly. Koji had called him quite reasonable and thinking things through. Alice knew that. To think that it was Mino who had attacked. Besides, she would be happy if she could meet him. Koji realized that the hero with her group was here, but she was pretending to be an ordinary person, so it might be risky. Although, socializing with people is still important. The boy wondered where Takako-chan was. The girl knew she had gone to check on her store. Koji laughed. That was typical of her. In that case, it would be necessary to think things over afterwards. There are a lot of people around, and demonic energy is directly oozing out of Mino. Horses and demons won't work together, so they're useless. Alice realized that traveling on foot would take too long. Who knows when they will finally reach? Koji believes there's nothing to be done. There is a type of transportation that is willing to work with demons as well. The girl, pleased, suggested that they do so. Streets of Valman. Alice was surprised to see the creatures. One of them advised the scum of the streets to stop staring at them so intently. Koji told her that they were monsters called centaurs. Their pride is so great that they do not even recognize the existence of humans. In addition, he offered to see how they reacted. The centaurs felt pleasure. It turned out that they are all extreme masochists to the point of disgust. They are perverts that they will obey a man's commands, only to be flogged. He really doesn't want to use them, and neither does Alice. Her eyes would rot out at the mere sight of. But she did not know of the existence of such monsters. The girl assumed that Kagami-san definitely knew a lot. The boy admitted that he had traveled many places before obtaining level 999. Alice had been wondering for some time now. He, a peasant, was able to achieve what the hero couldn't. She wants to know how he actually achieved that level. Pensive, Koji replied that by effort. The girl thought that if it was a secret, it was fine. But she was a little curious. The boy asked not to make that face. Anyone would be curious. And about how he reached level 999. The guy pondered the question. When he started saving money for the sake of living a peaceful life, he also raised his level. He was surprised by her upset face. Money is very important. Alice realizes that. As Koji explained, you can't say that money is everything in this world. However, it takes money to eat or stay somewhere for the night. Even to hire a bodyguard, a weak peasant needs money, right? And you'll get it after defeating a strong monster. The girl concluded that once he realized that, he had reached the current level. She asked about the threat to his own life. Was money really that important? Koji suggested that she would have hoped that after gaining money and power, enduring hardships would be easier. He had discovered this one day at the Adventurers Guild store. A plot of land in the royal capital was worth 50 gold. He wondered if he could earn a house quickly. He turned his attention to something else, a mysterious item whose contents you don't recognize until you buy it, all for 10,000 gold, which shocked him. Alice asked him not to buy it and asked him how much he had now. He replied that it was about 5,000. The girl thought that for that amount of money he could buy a castle. Buying such things is pointless. It turned out that the guy has a dream. The price of an object says nothing about its content. It was a challenge he willingly accepted. She asked not to accept. Koji thought it might be an object containing the secrets of the world. Alice realized she couldn't stop him, and she couldn't even tell if Kagami-san was serious. He won't give her a simple explanation. Just as she thought, it's something that can't be explained. The guy admitted that it was originally all about money. Koji wanted Alice to tell him. He realized that money is truly a mysterious thing. He means, why was money falling from monsters so important to people's lives? The girl didn't understand why he was asking. Wasn't it always like this? The boys recalled. Takako-chan looked everywhere for them. He suggested continuing this conversation next time. Alice needs to meet this Mino guy. Takako realized that they were talking. The girl decided not to rush him, which seemed nice to the woman. She wanted to know how long she and Kagami-san would be together. The outskirts of Valman. Mino was glad to see Alice and that she was safe. For her, getting this far on her own. Even though he exists to protect her, he attacked the town Alice-sama was in. The girl asked not to worry about it. The demon made sure that Koji wasn't lying. He decided that he should thank the brave man who had protected Alice-sama. Suddenly he was noticed by Takako-san, who called him handsome and thus frightened him. Alice didn't think Takako-san was scary. She even accepts demons. Then Mino apologized and introduced himself. He called Takako a brave gentleman, which she didn't like. The guys confirmed that she was a woman. Her name is Takako Builda. She is happy to meet him. The demon apologized sincerely. Koji thought that since Mino was emitting demonic power, they would need to keep him out of sight. He guesses they'll have to go from here. Mino turned to Alice-sama. He has been thinking for some time now that he can't smell the girl's demonic power. Alice explained that it was because of this cloth. She got it from Kagami-san. She was even able to enter the town of Valman. Fuji even bought her a ribbon. Mino was surprised to hear about it. The guy replied that they were incredibly rare, so he could only make one. Mino realized that he didn't really despise them, the demons. A portal appeared next to them, from which the hero Rex emerged. He declared that Koji had finally shown what he was really like. No one was happy to see him. His team members thought something was wrong. He's traveling with demons, so saying she was his sister was actually a lie. They advised the traitors to get ready. The guy was surprised by the way they appeared one by one. Rex was certain that his journey would end here. Koji inquired as to the reason for rounding them all up. As the princess had said, it was so they couldn't escape. Koji replied that in that case, 0 points this time. There was no point in fighting an invincible opponent. He inquired about Rex's encirclement tactics. The hero replied that it didn't seem to work on bastards like him anyway. Koji then suggested that he give up finally. Rex believed that if the hero surrendered, who would fight the villains? The protagonist saw that he was inept and reckless, but he had guts. However, it would be bad if the hero died. Rex called him a monster. The guy didn't mind being one, so he asked him to leave this monster alone and go back to his task of destroying the Demon King. The girls realized that the Demon King's subordinates were right in front of them. Because of yesterday's attack, there were many casualties, so there was no way they would let the perpetrator of this attack just get away. Koji recognized that this was fair. They don't deny that Mino went on a rampage in the city. Guy asked if he thought he should apologize for that. The demon didn't see why. The demons, were incessantly belittled as a result of yesterday's attack. Rex felt that a simple apology was not enough here. Demons threatening people's lives are evil, and everyone who helps them is just as evil. His opinion angered Koji. The boy asked if he thought his fake little sister was evil. He may think he knows demons, but she is the daughter of the Demon King, which shocked him. Every time they bumped into each other, they never once noticed it. Isn't it because they never saw her as the ultimate evil? Right, because of the fact that monsters are born from the horns of demons. They are dangerous to humans. But except for that harm, demons are not different from humans at all. That is why he will not let his demon friends die. Even so, the one who attacked the city, no matter which way you look at it, he is a criminal. They are very sorry. They were surprised that he would admit it. Koji reminded them that he was just following orders. But according to Alice, the Demon King is not well. The guys didn't understand what he meant. Koji admitted that he had already met the Demon King. No one could even think about it. He didn't see him as wanting to destroy humanity. So the guy doesn't think that this attack was at the Demon King's will, even though his face looked frightening. He wants to go check it out himself. Rex thought he was joking. He would never believe such a thing in his life. Koji had met the Demon King. The hero wondered if the guy thought he wanted to destroy humanity. Enough of his lies. On what basis did he decide that? Kyoru agreed with him. Demons are the main enemies of humans. Koji asked them if the Demon King's army had ever attacked humans. Rex admitted that they had never. The humans slaughtered all the demons they could find, but the Demon King had never retaliated. If there's even one chance in a million that this guy is telling the truth, if the Demon King isn't, then what are they fighting for? Palna continued to stand on the fact that the Demon King is their enemy. She thought they all needed to get a grip and attack the guys. Valman was attacked by demons yesterday, and that is the undeniable truth. It is quite possible that demons have brainwashed him. Don't just blindly take their word for it. Koji admitted that there was nothing to be done then. If that's what they think, then it's time to say goodbye. The boys escaped. The team realized that they were actually lying. Koji thought that maybe if they talked more, they would understand. They'd see each other sometime. The hero's group went after them. The boy realized that they couldn't accept it. For humans, living with demons means coming to terms with the wounds inflicted by monsters. Koji recognized that the road to coexistence is actually difficult. Alice remarked that unlike before, at least now they listened. Koji agreed with her. He believes he has no choice. As long as Alice doesn't give up, he'll be with her. Mino informed Kagami that he had prepared the wagon in advance. Koji inquired when he had arranged it. The boys were proudly greeted by the centaurs, for which the boy hated Mino. Turns out the demon had stolen it from a passing merchant. Since he didn't kill him, it shouldn't be a problem. Takako assumed that was why the heroes found them. Koji called him an idiot. Takako decided to get into the driver's seat. The boys hit the road. Mino apologized to them. The heroes' team saw that they escaped. Their destination is the same, so they will most likely meet again. Rex was sure that the monsters were hateful creatures he must destroy. Demons who want to destroy humanity won't escape either. But if there are demons who want peace, Rex realized that he was a hero. Halna suggested that they set off on their journey. They need to take care of supplies for the journey. The boy was surprised that she didn't even flinch. She has no doubts. Not far from the Demon Lord's castle was the fortified city of Salaria. Alice marveled at the size of this wall. It's completely different from Valman's. Koji explained that it was because Salaria is quite close to the Demon King's castle, so some of the laws are quite strict. However, if she actually wants to keep going, he will support her. The guy resented Takako riding centaurs. She called him a wonderful child. The centaur addressed Koji as a worm and advised him not to address Takako in such a familial manner. The boy realized that he was despised. Anyway, is the plan clear to everyone? They came to this city to trade. During their journey, they obtained the horn of the blue demon they had defeated. For the sake of hiding the leakage of Mino's aura, they need to disguise it with the items in the wagon. He hopes they can use the horn to trick the Czechs. Koji suggested Takako-chan to rush over. Inspection. The guard suggested that it was very hard for a peasant to take such a risk. Koji, as he admitted to himself, was glad he had hired such reliable bodyguards. Everything checked out, the boys were allowed to go. Because of the parade, the place is full of people now, so they'll probably be lucky. This is the first time they've heard of it. On the streets of Salaria, Alice was fascinated by this city. Kagami-chan was acting strangely. He replied that he was just feeling a little unwell. The boy asked around a bit for details. A few days ago, this place was attacked by the Demon King's army, and the battle ended with Salmaria's victory. And tomorrow, they will be forming a punitive unit. Takako assumed that they were attacked, just like in Valman. Koji realized that the Demon King had never done anything like that until now. The fact that the first attack had been repelled must have hit them in the head, and today there is a celebration of that. The monsters prowling around the Demon Lord's castle are terrifyingly strong. The unit will be wiped out. Only half of them will return at best. To think that the Demon Lord's army will be the first to attack this city. If it goes on like this, if the endless war and continuous revenge continues, the road to coexistence will most likely be destroyed. Takako believed that it would be quite difficult to stop the punitive forces now, and it only cost the demon army to attack again. It would be very difficult to defend Salaria. Koji agreed with her. After all, Atro's Island, where the Demon Lord's castle is located, is a place where monsters with a terribly high level are born. In addition, there's also the possibility that in preparation for the real attack, they will gather a huge number of monsters. And, if the demons intended it that way, they could practically wipe out their opponents in one go. Even Salaria wouldn't be able to withstand such an invasion. Takako agreed with him. That's why he thought of something. Instead of a punishment squad, they would go to meet the Demon King and persuade him, and then escape with the entire demon race. Although Takako understands his feelings, she thinks the plan is too reckless. She asked what he would do if the Demon King actually longs for the destruction of all humans. If that's the way it's going to be, does Koji really think she'll turn a blind eye to it? Alice observes that this is correct. If her father intends to wage war with the humans, then Guy decided that he would fight then. However, with humans and demons allied together for the sake of coexistence with each other, the creation of allied troops surprised the guys. Koji suggested gathering a whole bunch of humans and demons who want to end the conflict. He thinks they'll find a whole bunch of them if they look. Takako doubted that was possible in a situation like this. She might have asked this before, but is it possible for both sides to live in peace? Alice stated that they had already accomplished that. She too will join these united forces. Koji suggested that by doing so, she might well have to oppose her father in the future. The girl thought that even if her father actually intended to declare war, she is unwilling to give up the idea of coexistence between their races. Alice was not going to give up here. Then the boy suggested that she try together. He asked Mino about him. Mino knew that he was loyal to his demonic majesty. However, he couldn't just abandon Alice. Leaning out of the wagon, he declared that he couldn't help but stay at her side. Koji reminded him that climbing out was not allowed. Takako thought she was such a fool. She decided to join this merry group. In that case, from now on, Koji offered to be friends. The centaurs were also going to accompany them no matter what they said. Now let them show some appreciation. Takako made the decision to go to the Demon Lord's castle, Salmaria's inn. Koji realized that being in such good spirits was certainly a good thing, but he wished they could just leave this place soon. Takako asked him to sit normally. In light of the recent attack, the main gate is closed until sunset. The guards at the gate are also quite strict. The guys realized that slipping out quietly would be too difficult, and they need to avoid being too conspicuous, so Koji suggested that they get the hell out of here as soon as the gates opened. Alice seconded him. After all, the troop would be quite large and their departure would take some time, so they'll be able to get there before them. Koji noticed that she was a mind reader. Takako thought they would be more excited. Instead, they are calmly thinking things over. Looking at them, you wouldn't think the peace between humans and demons was so far-fetched. She asked me to stop riding around here. At any rate, since they couldn't carelessly walk around, why shouldn't the two of them enjoy the parade? Alice didn't think it was quite the right place for such a thing. Besides, she would feel bad for Mino. Takako replied that he had asked her not to worry about him. She asked to escort this child while walking around the city. Takako threatened Koji. Street parade. The girl marveled at the spectacle. These people are amazing. The city is buzzing with excitement. Koji suggested calming down and getting something to eat. The clown handed Alice a balloon. The others also offered her auntie's bread and some kebab. The girl was happy to receive so many things from other people. Koji remembered that she had gotten quite a few things at Valman too. That must be a talent. Alice suggested that Kagami-san eat it together. The guy asked if she was sure. Alice realized that he was always looking out for her. If she eats this, she might gain some strength. Koji was surprised that even though she was just a child, she was so honest. Even if she is so worried about him, thanks to the skill he has, there is no need to worry about him. It's called auto recovery. It's a skill that can easily cure all minor injuries. Alice realized why he never looked shabby. The girl admitted that Kagami-san is actually awesome. She wants to be useful to everyone too. The boy replied that she was already proving herself useful. Before she appeared, he had already given up on the idea of coexistence. His words moved Alice. Koji noticed the spaghetti sign and decided he should try it. The girl tried to find out what he meant then. The boy wasn't going to tell. He saw Rex in front of him. The girls wondered how he ate so slowly. He, on the other hand, thought table manners were important. The hero's gaze collided with Koji's. Rex clearly hadn't expected to see him here. The island of Atros, castle of the demon lord. The monster army was closing in. Salaria. Rex was looking forward to seeing them again. The chef asked him, while in their restaurant, to watch his tone. The boy realized this was his chance. Rex wanted to ask him something, but Koji had discreetly left. The fact that he had run away again was starting to get on their nerves. They went after him. The hero realized that they had lost him. Palna asked the jerk Rex what now. The guy replied that at least they knew he was in this town now. Tina decided that since things were working out that way, maybe they should tell the townspeople and get them to look for these guys with them. Rex suggested they stop now. Who knows how this guy will react? Tina thought. The hero is afraid that Koji might hurt those who find him. Hiroru was confident that it wouldn't happen. From their last battle with this guy, they had come out of their last battle completely unharmed. Moreover, she doesn't think he's such a bad person. Her statement seemed strange to the girls. The princess went on about this guy. He came to talk to them, and when they attacked without giving him a chance, he didn't fight. He didn't try to impose his values on them or use force to make them submit to his will. He simply ran away. Rex realized that he looked down on people all the time, but they shouldn't mindlessly harm others. It bothered him that he was desperately running away. It would be better if they didn't try to corner him. Palna wondered what they would do now. Just chase him or what? She figured she and the demons had now enlisted as buddies. Rex just wants to ask him something. Why is he protecting demons? The next time they meet, the princess wants to ask him about it. They asked Palna not to worry so much. Their goal of destroying the demons hasn't changed. Koji took a breath after running. He didn't think they would get here so quickly. Alice was surprised by that. Koji didn't like the fact that they just kept bumping into each other. He noticed the crowd of people and decided that they were definitely having fun. The girl couldn't see anything. He picked her up and asked her if it got better. She certainly had nerves of steel. The guy realized that she was still dreaming about the festival. Alice apologized. Koji thought it was a fun way to learn something new. His attention was drawn to the ice cream. He bought it for the two of them. The girl recognized that humans are actually amazing. To create something so delicious, she would like to give everyone a chance to try them. The residents, running past them, began to gather at one place. Alice was frightened when she learned about the monster the people were doing battle with. She inquired as to the reason why they were all so excited. The boy explained that it was a festival performance. They show how warriors defeat weak monsters. Suddenly something strange happened there. A more powerful monster appeared in the arena. The men were surprised that this time they had unleashed a rather difficult opponent. The monster knocked them down in an instant. The men realized that this wasn't just a show. Koji asked them to stay away from him. The guy realized that even if he started to accumulate power for his skill, it would take time. He didn't know what he should do. The monster was about to kill the man. At that moment, someone used a divine shield. That person turned out to be the princess. She advised him to run away quickly. This shield wouldn't last long. The man stayed where he was. He asked her to forget about him and run away. The girl replied that she would not run away. It is the duty of nobles to protect people. She would not sacrifice the lives of others to save her own. Kuru's barrier shattered, and she couldn't move. She was protected from the monster by Koji, whose appearance surprised the girl. The boy was about to strike it with his fist. He used a charged punch that slew him. Koji reported that the princess had earned herself 100 points this time. The team rushed towards her. Tina immediately recognized the guy. He accepted his fate. Rex grabbed him without giving him a chance to escape. The hero asked how he was able to defeat him. Koji explained that this monster was actually strong, but he used a charged strike. Rex was surprised that he used a basic technique to defeat it. Koji realized that it was the only skill he could use so quickly. Rex had a lot of things he wanted to discuss with him. The boy didn't mind, but first they should make sure there were no other monsters around. The princess thanked Koji for saving her. The guy admitted it only worked out because she bought him some time. Thanks to her, he was able to gather enough energy to defeat him in one blow. Palma thought that even if it wasn't a demon, it would still become a demon to save him, right? Koji replied that he was a neutral party. The guard was running towards the guys. He reported in a panic that they should run away right now. Koji assumed he meant that there were more monsters roaming around. But that wasn't the point. There's a huge gathering of monsters from Elstoro Island heading this way. There are about 10,000 of them. This town is doomed. Koji advised the hero to start evacuating the townspeople as quickly as possible. He would go and find his comrades. He will need Takako-chan's help. Besides, he will leave Alice in their care. His decision angered the boys. Rex declared that demons were their sworn enemies. What would he do if he left her with them and they decided to finish her off? He asked him to think about it. Koji felt that if they intended to kill her, he wouldn't ask them to. Besides, didn't Rex say he wanted to discuss something with him? The hero agreed with him. Palna suggested he wasn't worried that she might be killed because it wouldn't matter in the end. Koji asked to take care of the girl's safety. Tina noticed that he was definitely desperate. Palna turned to Alice saying that she had been abandoned after all. The girl didn't think so at all. Kagami-sen actually believed in them. That's why she would also believe. She wondered what would happen when that horde of monsters finally arrived. The girl didn't know what she should do. The princess cuddled up to her asking her not to load her little head with all this. They would fulfill their promise. After all, she's not dangerous at all. Palna felt that this was not the time for such a thing. She decided to go ahead. Kiruru suggested that the girl work together to safely evacuate everyone. Rex fought the monsters to give the people a chance to escape. The boys announced that a horde of monsters were headed for this town and they should all evacuate. Alice asked everyone to run away. Rex protected her from a pile of rocks and told her to be careful. Someone called him a bastard. Mino and Takako didn't like the fact that the hero was standing next to the girl. Rex informed the muscular man that the peasant had gone looking for him. Alice corrected him, telling him it was a woman, but he called her Muscle Man again. The guy was surprised to hear that she was a woman. It sounded rude to Takako. Yes, he directly came to a unique inference. Mino demands that they release Alice Sama immediately. Rex replied that even though Mino was hiding who he really was, he could still sense his demonic power. He explained that that peasant had told them to keep an eye on her. Takako was surprised to learn of this unexpected decision by Kagami soon. She understood the situation and decided that they would look for Kagami-chan too. There was only one road leading to the inn. It was likely that he might have taken a wrong turn. Rex didn't realize where the guy was. In a panic, a guard came running to the boys. He said that a guy was fighting a horde of monsters at the west gate. Everyone but the guy ran away. The peasant is fighting there alone. If nothing is done, he will die. The guard begged to save him. Alice realized it was Kagami-san. If there were going to be people who despised demons for destroying their villages, then the idea of coexistence would be impossible. Kagami-san intends to protect them all alone. The girl went after him. Even if it's Kagami-chan, trying to confront all of them alone is too much. Takako-chan put her on her shoulders. Alice made her assumption that the person he was talking about was most likely Kagami-san. Takako realized that they should hurry. Even though he had the recovery skill, there were too many enemies for him alone. She called out to Mino-chan. They're going to run across the rooftops. Even though they're talking about Kagami-chan, it's not a case where everything can be dealt with alone. It's something only a fool would do. Rex was also angered that Koji had decided to take it upon himself. The boys were surprised that he was also going and was going to help them. Hearing something like this, he can't just ignore it. More importantly, why would this peasant go and do something like this without support? Most likely, he just doesn't want anyone to be hurt because of it. Not people, not demons. Doing something like that is the same as asking for death. Reckless or not, if there's even a 1% chance of success, Koji will never give up. Even so, there is a difference between recklessness and bravery. For Kagami-chan, if it's for the sake of those he cares about, something like fear for his own life he just doesn't have. Rex wanted to say that he had prepared himself. Takako interrupted him, saying that it wasn't about whether or not he was prepared. Mino stopped suddenly. In front of the guys were a lot of slain monsters. Rex didn't understand how it was even possible. How could a peasant be so strong? The girl was worried about Kagami-san. Meanwhile, Koji was deftly fighting the monster he had defeated in an instant. Rex continued to be more and more surprised by this power. He began to doubt that Koji was definitely human. This level 999 peasant was like a demon. One man against 10,000 monsters. The boys thought it was incredible. Rex didn't understand why he would go that far. Takako decided to tell them. When Koji was a child, the monsters killed his father right before his eyes. Sadness, disappointment. He could not forgive himself for his weakness. A world that made only peasants weak. Monsters, demons, and even his own helplessness. He cursed them all. After that, Kagami-chan wished to become strong by destroying monsters. But Kagami-chan defeated them by throwing stones from afar. But killing level 4 monsters that way has its limit. No matter how many monsters he defeated, his experience points didn't increase. Even his level didn't increase. All he did was run away and kill monsters from a safe distance. In the end, he was still bound by his weak nature. And so he stopped fighting from a safe distance and desperately challenged them face to face. Even though it was suicidal for the peasant, he wanted to test it. To see if he would have to give up avenging his father and move on with his life. To see if he was still weak. To see if life was even worth living. Koji realized that these goblins were strong. No, maybe it's just the peasants who are so weak. He was surprised to find that this ever-unchanging level had finally risen from 4th to 5th. It was then that Kagami-chan suddenly realized the mechanics according to which this world is governed. When someone defeats an enemy under extremely unfavorable conditions, even if they are of the same level, the amount of experience points they receive will be increased in proportion to the difference in strength. The weaker the equipment and combat skills compared to the enemy, the more experience they will receive. Experience is a double-edged sword for which you must risk your life. The only advantage the peasants have was their extreme weakness. Koji wondered if the peasants died as they grew stronger. He is satisfied with this. He would pay with his life for his level. The monsters, the demons that gave them life. He will kill them all of them. And following his words, risking his life, he threw himself into unprofitable battles again and again. The death of his father left Koji with a sense of hatred. Then Kagami-san, who was traveling far from home, hurried home. He found the peasants killed, including his mother. Apparently, the village had been completely slaughtered by a gang of bandits. Alice felt sorry for the boy. Takako concluded that his father had been killed by monsters and his mother had been killed by humans. The boys realized why he had decided to stay on the neutral side. The woman told the girl that for Kagami, meeting her father greatly influenced that decision. Alice did not know this. Takako advised her to hear the details from himself. The princess stated that they couldn't let this guy die then, to which Takako agreed. Alice would also do her best. If it weren't for those monsters, there would be no need to fight demons. If they didn't exist, everyone could get along with each other, and then dad and mom definitely wouldn't have to die. Guy wanted to know who decided to make all these rules. Even if it was the world itself, Koji would never forgive him. He saw the monster about to strike. The protagonist was not going to give up so easily. Koji realized that he wouldn't be able to use the skill in time. That's too bad. At least he had reduced their number a little. Now the morale of Salaria's adventurers should rise, and the city wouldn't turn into ruins. The seed of the possibility of coexistence will be preserved. It doesn't sound so bad to him. The monsters were suddenly struck by someone's blow. It was made by a princess who would be worried if Koji suddenly died because of them. The guy didn't expect such a thing from her. Another spell was used. Rex also joined the battle. He's a hero, and damn it, there's no way he'd run away, leaving the battle to a peasant. Koji thought they had come here to die. Even Takako-chan dared to teach everyone a lesson. When asked by the boy, she replied that she had come to save him. Koji thought they would just sign their own death certificates. The only one who should die was him. Mino then decided that he too would bear that burden. The guy was surprised that even he was here. He's a demon too, after all. Mino asked if Kagami wasn't also going to die an extremely useless death. Tina knew that he was all scarred up. The girl wanted to cure him. Palna stated that this time she would make him explain everything properly. Even she is here. They all came to save him. They will push them back together. Koji asked if they really wanted to die. The princess replied that they would not die, and they would not let him die. Koji realized that right now he was not alone. He inquired about Alice's whereabouts. Mino told him that she had gone to find a safe place to hide. He felt that he should hide too, or not. Koji understood everything. They would only escape if they had to. It's not a suicide mission. He offered to end it. Tina is willing to help him. The boy boldly set out to face the monster. He wouldn't budge an inch. The monster hit him with a stone ball and blew him away. Tina asked if he was okay. Koji thinks he might actually be dead. He thinks he got too carried away knowing she would cure him. The girl replies that her name is not you, but Tina. If she, the priest, is taken out, the whole crew will be in trouble. So she asked him not to act rashly. The guy admitted he shouldn't have said that the princess gets 0 points and apologized. Koji suggested that the guys work together, which they talked about. The guy noticed that those flying monsters were definitely a nuisance. He called out to Kururu and Palna. Koji grabbed the girls who were angered by this action. He asked them to cast a couple spells for him. Both did not understand why he said this. At this point they took to the air. The guy offered to carry them up into the sky. The girls used magic on the monsters, and he concluded that the mages were definitely incredible. It ended up being a remarkable success. Kururu wondered if he realized what he was doing to her, the princess. Koji thought they worked together as teammates. His words affected the princess. Then she decided that she would just have to forgive him. One way or another the guys won't lose to them. Takako will leave the weaker ones to Rex and deal with the stronger ones herself. Rex resented it. He said he could handle them, at least with this many. The hero thought about how he would definitely be stronger one day. Nino admitted that he would be in trouble if a hero like him became stronger. The boys decided to continue. Eventually they all ran out of strength. Koji saw that they were all on the brink, and he wasn't happy about it. There were still definitely plenty of monsters. As long as they are still able to move, they should retreat. This is their chance. The guy was about to retreat, but he was interrupted by Takako, who asked him not to say that. Can't he see that they still have the strength to fight? They refuse to run away, leaving anyone behind. As the princess added, they know what he is trying to do. Koji didn't know what he should do. At this rate, everyone will die. The guy was summoned by Alice with the words that everything would be alright. Kagami-sen didn't expect to see Alice here. Behind her back stood the adventurers of Salaria. The girl happily declared that it was her turn to save Kagami-san. The adventurers were ready to protect Salaria. Koji didn't understand what was going on here. It turned out that Alice had asked everyone. She told the adventurers of Salaria that the people fighting needed help. At first, no one had the courage to fight this horde of monsters. When they saw them all fighting, that courage needed for battle returned to them. The girl was grateful to Koji for trying so hard. Princess Kururu was surprised that a peasant fighting 10,000 monsters alone was able to touch the hearts of so many adventurers. It was like a picture from one of the epic poems she had read in the castle library. Rex was also surprised by this peasant. That's why he too must see things through to the end. Koji thinks he'll give it his best shot too. The guy asked Alice to stay away since it was dangerous here. The girl was sorry. She really wanted to help him for a change. He stroked her head. Koji replied that the most impressive thing was that even though Alice was a demon, possessing only a strong desire to help, she was able to convince all those people. He is grateful to her. Koji decided to move to battle. The guy was going to give the guys his best and win. Rex didn't feel as if he needed to say that. What surprised Mino was that one day these guys might become his enemies. Takako knew that they would be fine here, so he could party however he wanted. Koji boldly made his way towards the monster. The Salaria adventurers couldn't understand where he got so much power from. Hadn't he been fighting for some time? The guy grabbed onto his leg and decided that now they would fly. He managed to lift the monster. The boys watched him toss it in the air. The adventurer thought it was inhumane. He couldn't even tell which one was the monster anymore. His comrade didn't think it meant anything. At least he's on their side. Koji is confident that they will win and asked to keep moving forward. Guy watched how bravely the boys fought. Without thinking long, he also dashed forward. Koji declared that he wasn't done yet. The adventurers realized that there was no way they could match something like this. Tina wanted to give Rex a potion. The boy replied that he was fine. He had already drunk so much that they no longer worked. The princess thought he should get some rest. Rex said he was a hero. There's no way he can give up. He must be able to keep his courage up until the very end. Hikaru believed that retreating also required courage. Letting his tired body rest is a choice he can also make. He shouldn't overexert himself in a battle like this. The hero asked about Koji. Tina, after thinking for a bit, replied that Kagami-san was resting without worrying about anything in this world. Thanks to the skill he has, he even heals without regenerating items while resting. Rex knew that this guy had a skill of the 100th level. Tina wondered if they thought that perhaps he had more faith in the people around him than anyone else. Rex realized that he believed in his comrades with all his heart, so could easily take a break. They really are relied upon. He felt that they were indeed no match for him. Tina agreed. 999 level is actually awesome. The hero wasn't talking about the level. What's most impressive about him is his ability to act without hesitation or prejudice. At least for Rex. The princess thinks so too. Halna saw that they had decided to take a break. Good job. Tekako and Mino need a break too. Halna advised them to drink potions if they are still effective. The girl thought it would be so easy to kill him right now. Tekako turned to her, saying that she wouldn't do that if she were her. Or she doesn't want to hear what Kagami-chan has to say after all this. Halna replied that she would wait for that. It will happen soon. Koji realized that it was working. He could already see the end. The boy informed the boys that there was only a little more to go. The ground began to shake. The most powerful monster of all was heading towards the guys. Koji realized that this was bad. This was definitely not what he expected. Hikaru didn't realize what it even was. She had never once heard of such a monster, not even in the royal records. First of all, what kind of monster was it anyway? Mino didn't know. He had never seen anything like it either. Tekako was surprised that even he, a servant of the demon lord, had no idea. Moreover, this power, it's so big not for show at all. Tekako turned to Kagami-san saying that it was disappointing, but they should retreat. Koji was surprised at his size. He decided to stretch himself. The woman didn't realize what he was doing. They need to retreat. She realized where this was going. Koji rushed to attack. Tekako called him a fool. He almost succeeded in hitting the monster, but he knocked the guy back with his hand, causing him to fall to the ground. The adventurer realized that even he couldn't defeat it. Salaria was doomed. Tekako was frustrated that even Kagami-san couldn't make him move an inch. Alice tried to support him and asked him to drink a potion. Koji replied that it was dangerous, but she didn't care. Unlike him, the girl realized that she wouldn't run away. They had gotten into this together. The boy thought there was no need to force himself. He can see she's scared. The princess stated that he was the one overdoing it, and that's why Alice was shaking with fear and anxiety. Koji apologized to her. A demon came down to the boys and marveled that he was still alive. He realized why things had gotten off schedule. The reason why the Salaria adventurers had been fighting for so long. For a moment, he thought it was the hero who had ignited the flame in them, but it was actually Koji. Nino recognized Lord Esteller. The Lord had heard that he was missing, but he was just serving Lady Alice. How like him, loyal to the demon lord to the very end. Koji was surprised that Mino knew him. He said that long before he started serving his demonic majesty, this demon had been by his side as his right hand. The second most powerful demon after the king himself, Lord Esteller Urgot. Alice recognized him. Mino felt that the condition of Kagami Dono's wounds was much more important. The guy is doing fine thanks to the potion he drank. He still hadn't used any, so it worked remarkably well. Esteller suggested that he still intended to fight. Koji replied that he would want to take care of the thug first, but if he intends to intervene, he'll take him on. He doesn't mind, does he? He can just sit this one out. The Lord let him do whatever he wants. Then that's what Koji will do. Mino turned to Esteller, informing him that Kagami Dono is no ordinary man at all. He may be a peasant, but he's a level 999. The Lord was not surprised by this. Reaching that level is definitely unprecedented, but he is still just a peasant. What escapes him is why would they go so far in supporting someone like him? A peasant is not worth such praise at all. Hikaru didn't understand what he meant, that he was still just a peasant. Esteller explained that peasants have abnormally low characteristics, even at level 999, compared to the rest of the classes like heroes or mages. A peasant is so weak that it's not worth mentioning. Nino replied that it wasn't just levels that were valuable, there are also skills. In that case, the Lord asked if he knew of any skills besides his self-repair that he could possess. Even the fact that he was able to obtain such a skill was a miracle in itself. He is not the only example of a peasant aiming for the 100th level or even higher. Because of their specialty, they are able to level up much faster than others. However, he's definitely the first to crawl to such an absurd level. But in the end, all the skills they possess are just as useless as those possessing them. Skills like possessing the power to hurl things with your fingers. Tekako wondered how this demon knew so much. Esteller complimented that even if one forgot about skills, the difference between their characteristics was unconditional. And this was not an opponent that a level 999 peasant could even hope to defeat. He noticed that the guy was coming back. Being level 999, his growth is over. Even with all his special skills, that's the limit for a peasant. Koji asked if he really thought so. This time, he was definitely able to reduce the amount of damage he received. Esteller knew that even the peasant's health and mana were lower than the mage's, but his stamina was incredible. Is it possible that it's because of the skill he has? His persistence is admirable. However, this is only because of his skill. The Lord advises him to surrender while he is still alive. From his words, Koji realized that he wasn't going to kill them all. He replied that his only goal is to destroy Salaria. The Lord would kill him if he got in his way. Regarding the destruction of this wretched little town, their lives are of no value to him. Esteller was approached by Alice. She asked him to stop. Her father would never wish such a thing. The girl begged to speak to him again. He knows very well that neither she nor the demon lord would wish it. Esteller, pointing at the monster, wondered if the demon lord would answer the same thing if they asked him right now. The guys had a hard time believing it. It was quite problematic. But, gradually adding the drug to weaken this gigantic power, the lord was finally able to use his powers to bend him to his will. Nino was sure that the demon lord did not desire this battle. Esteller replied that this battle was desired by him. Inside this huge monster was a demon lord. Esteller stated that the demon lord did not want this war. It was the one he craved. Alice didn't understand why. Koji asked the guy in that black armor that it was Mao after all. The demon replied that he was called the Messiah. It is a weapon of mass destruction that only his demonic majesty can control. It was created in ancient times for the sole purpose of destroying the human race. Koji asked if he thought they would look past it. Besides, it has nothing to do with the will of the demon lord himself, and he's making him run the thing anyway. Esteller agreed with him. Koji decided that they would then rescue the demon lord along with the people of Salaria. Alice Chan's father is his best friend. That the overlord was his best friend and they would rescue him seemed strange to the demon. Considering Alice Sama's behavior so far, it became clear. Then he would be forced to consider all demons as his enemies. However, he advises Koji to give up. This is not something a peasant can handle. It is hopeless, no matter how hard he tries. The boy had no intention of giving up. Esteller called him a stubborn worm. Alice was scared for Kagami-san. Koji asked her to give him a potion. It seemed strange to the demon that this peasant was still standing. The boy was about to try again. His abilities never ceased to amaze Esteller. He dashed straight for the monster. The boys saw that it worked, but the monster was able to push him away. Koji fell to the ground. Esteller doubted that the man was actually an ordinary peasant. Everyone rushed towards him. The demon asked what he had done. Koji replied that he had tried. Alice asked him to stop. He doesn't need to force himself like that. The princess agreed with her. At this rate, he'll just kill himself. Tina's potions no longer have any effect, and they can heal him as long as they have mana left. Koji remembered that he had promised to save the girl's dad. Palna asked how he could fight like that. Where did he get such fighting spirit in him? The guy knew that she was, after all, capable of using recovery magic. The girl asked for an answer to her. Why does he refuse to see demons as enemies? Why does he continue to fight so recklessly? Koji pondered. Palna declared that if he didn't explain it to her now, she would stop treating him. The boy decided to say. When his father was killed by monsters, he didn't understand why they peasants were so weak. It was so painful that he couldn't stand. After desperately searching for a way to become stronger, he focused solely on leveling up. He started making more money and life became easier. Koji came to the conclusion that killing monsters was the most effective way. After that, he began to have doubts. So why is there money falling off monsters that can be used in human villages? What are the classes? Why do they differ so much in strength? Moreover, this is a status window. What is it? Is its sole purpose to show its status? Level, experience. You gain it by defeating monsters with a level higher than yours. Every 100 levels, you gain a skill. None of this makes any sense. Rex asked what he meant. Koji's mom was killed by humans, not by demons or monsters. If they were monsters, there was nothing to be done about it. But after all, there are as many good demons in this world as there are bad humans. However, that's not enough. People will continue to hate demons as long as the monsters created by their magical power continue to harm humanity. If people kill dangerous monsters, their lives become richer. This is what this world is like. A world where killing monsters and demons is their only way to survive. They don't ask questions, believing that this is the way it should be. They fight blindly on the path set before them, imprisoned in the roles given to them. They ask no questions. Every time Rex says he's a hero, it looks like he's trying to convince himself, not others. If he had a choice, the guy would ask if he would like to have a different class. This got Rex thinking. Koji stated that he wanted a choice. They should be allowed to choose what they want to be. But the rules of this world get in the way. He reached the 999th level, and despaired, because the counter for the experience required to level up was not shown in the status window. No matter how badly he wanted it. Getting stronger, he couldn't get any stronger. He thought that whoever decided all this was better off not messing with him. Koji wanted to become even stronger. Esteller asked why he still continued to fight despite knowing his limits. The guy noticed that after becoming level 999, he had gained a skill. It was such a small thing, but it added fuel to his boiling cauldron of doubts. The skill was called Defying God. The development of one who possesses a skill does not stop. All experience gained is transformed into power beyond the original limits. With that, he decided that it was his right to challenge. If there is a god who created this world, Koji will send him flying, and will tell him that everyone should have the freedom to live as they wish. Esteller thought that with this skill, if he continued to fight, could it be that this man actually gained experience from fighting the Messiah? Potions no longer worked on him. The guys didn't understand what he was going to do now. Koji felt that he would have been better off not using this skill, but it seemed he had to. For that short period of time, his strength doubled. The skill is called Limit Release. Under normal circumstances, the wielder can only use 30% of his full strength. However, the skill for 3 hours raises the limit to 70%. Esteller was surprised that his strength had doubled. Although after using this skill, he would be on the verge of death, unable to move. That's why it's a skill of last hope. Koji suggested to see who was stronger. He went straight to the monster. He twisted the limits of the 999th level and the rules of this world. He would decide where his limit would be. The guy used a limit-exceeding kick. Koji finally met his teacher. Alice rushed to her father. The demon lord recognized the girl. Kagami-san wanted to say that he was so glad, but he couldn't stand it and fell to the ground. He couldn't even move an inch. That's why he disliked using this skill so much. The Demon King noticed that they hadn't seen each other for a long time. He owed Koji a debt of gratitude now. The guy didn't think so at all. It was all for him and his best friend Alice. The Overlord remembered that it had been 9 years to call a demon like Alice his best friend. As always, Koji is definitely a strange peasant. The girl's father realized he had made her worry. Alice denied it. In the end, Kagami-san saved him, along with Tekako-chan, also with Rex-san and everyone else. At this time, the woman's heart began to beat more frequently as she looked at the Demon King. The man asked the hero if he didn't want to kill him. Rex was about to reply that his desire to kill was gone when suddenly Palna interrupted him, asking him what he was even talking about. The girl wanted to kill him. She didn't have enough strength left to kill him, but she wondered if he would pitifully beg for mercy or fight. She offered to show her what he would do. The Lord believes there is nothing to be done. Mino stopped her. As long as he breathes, he will not allow his majesty to be killed. The frightened girl covered her father with herself. The king did not expect to see Mino here. The man realized that he had been helping Alice all this time. He was proud of a servant like him. Mino asked not to think about it. The demon lord inquired about Esteller's further actions. He admitted that although he had originally intended to use the demon lord's power to give the humans a taste of extinction, he doubted that he would get another chance. Esteller remembered that the peasant wished to send the creator of this world flying. He decided to give him a hint as to how to accomplish his goal. There are 2 ways. The first is to kill the demon lord himself. Rex was surprised to hear about it. Koji didn't understand what this guy was even talking about. Thinking about it now, when the people of Salaria were attacked, the escape route wasn't blocked, only partially blocked. It was as if he was holding back, planning to turn the flames of chaos into hatred for the demon lord later. There was no way Koji was going to kill the demon lord. Esteller thought so. That was why everything was so problematic. The boy wondered how he even knew about it. If he killed his demon allies just for this advice, then he's also just following the rules of this world. Esteller was surprised that he was saying such things when he had already gotten to this point. He asked about the second hint. The demon replied that the second hint would be an expensive nameless item for sale in the city. Koji realized that he meant an item for 10,000 gold. Esteller was surprised that he knew about it. In that case, he and the Overlord began to fade away gradually. Koji called him a bastard. Shouldn't he be a loyal servant of the Demon Lord? He replied that he was destined for such a fate. The boy has 1 year. Until then, Esteller will keep the Demon Lord with him. If Koji can't fulfill the conditions, he will use the Demon Lord to attack humanity again. He wondered who would die the next time they met. Alice was upset that she had lost her father again. Kagami-san realized the time limit of a year. He has to somehow collect those 10,000 gold. The princess worried about what would happen now. Koji wondered. For starters, he suggested opening a casino. The boys were shocked by what he had just said. Valman, Koji suggested that the boys get down to business. 2 months had passed since the Salaria incident. 10 months remained before the deadline of Esteller's assignment. In order to save the Demon Lord, they must get their hands on a mystical item worth 10,000 gold coins. In order to get their hands on the required amount of money, they must continue their preparations. While the huge casino is almost ready to open, they have not yet hired any of the staff to run it. The big opening is in 2 weeks, so they will need to find employees before that deadline. Such a short time frame shocked the guys. Takako called him an idiot and punched him. If he had taken it seriously, it wouldn't have come to this. The guy replied that he was serious about it. Valman is full of rich people, and isn't it full of mercenaries, traders, and adventurers, hobnobbing from dawn to dusk every day? Money's sure to rain down on them in no time. All that's left is a reliable staff to run it. The woman didn't like that and punched him again. He asked if she even realized how hard he would have to work to run such a small establishment. Takako wondered who would be able to train all those people in such a short time once he got them together. What about their salaries? What about supplies? Food? She didn't understand how he was going to get it all ready. The others realized that it was their fault too for leaving everything to Kagami-san. Tina knows that they need 10,000 gold, but how much more do they need? Koji replied that they would need about 5,000 gold. Rex was surprised, for he could buy a castle with that money. He doubted that they really needed to earn that much. Rex wondered what he had been doing for the past 2 months in that case. Koji had locked himself in the dungeon to earn some money. He ended up getting 600 gold coins in 2 months. Tina realized that it was great, but forgetting to hire staff. The guy replied that there were other rewards. This time, he was able to create a cloth that concealed Mino's magical energy. Now, wearing the hat, he could move around freely. The demon admitted that the past 2 months had been difficult. He had to camp outside and be away from Alice-sama, but now he could stay by her side and serve her. Takako stated that even if he had 1 person, it was not enough to run a huge casino. The princess thought that given the current situation, they just had to do a good job. Tina was intimidated by the fact that they needed to gather a large number of staff before the casino opened, and within the remaining 10 months, accumulate 5,000 gold coins. She thought it was a suicide quest. Rex replied that it might be, but they have to fulfill it. With his hero charisma, it should be fine. He offered to leave it up to him. Tina remarked that besides, their most trusted comrade was not with them. Alice realizes that they're in a very difficult situation right now, but honestly, she's very happy to see humans and demons working together like this. She just wants to run and tell her father about it. During the Salaria incident, Esteller took her father with him. Esteller gave them his 1-year ultimatum. By then, Kagami-san must reveal the secrets of this world. Otherwise, father's power would be used again in the battle with the humans. In order to reveal these secrets, they need a special item. In order to obtain this item, they will need an absurd 10,000 gold. Someone came to the boys with a resignation. Palna had originally joined this squad to defeat the Demon Lord. Based on the circumstances, her presence here is meaningless. Or is she wrong? She will return. Until then, their conversation is not finished. And she left. Tina felt it would be a little lonely. Koji realized that this was life. He asked about the others. Tina is here because she wanted to train her body. She thinks that for that purpose, the best choice would be to stay together with Rex-san and Kururu-san. Thus, she puts the decision in their hands. Kururu, being a princess, grew up inside the palace walls. Until then, she had looked at the world based on the common sense she had been taught. Like Kagami-san said, there is much more to know about which you can only learn about by seeing with your own eyes. So, in exchange for permission for them to stay here, she asked to be allowed to help him too. Koji decided that he would then rely on all of them. Rex then concluded that he no longer cared about the Demon Lord. Like Kururu, he did not live for himself. Koji had shown him that roles were not everything. The guy showed him the value of living life as more than just a hero. For this reason, if there is something he can help with, he will gladly lend a hand. Koji was surprised that a peasant like him helped a hero like him. Rex reminded him that he was the one who had told him that roles and races meant nothing. From now on, Rex would call him master. The boy asked that he not do that. 2 months had passed since then, and all that time they worked together. Alice never thought that they would even work together with the hero and his comrades. And the path that gave them hope was opened by none other than Kagami-san. Rex would like to train with the master, so in return, he would help him with everything he needed. The guy didn't realize what kind of nonsense he was talking about. Besides, could he please stop calling him master? The hero pleaded with the master, which he didn't like. The princess declared that whatever. Time was running out. She suggested going to a place where people gather and hiring some workers. In that case, Rex suggested the market square where they first recruited companions. Courage liked the idea. Guy called the boys to recruit in the market square. Rex replied that he could rely on him. Koji did not call on Mino. Tekako called them fools. If only it were that simple. Valman's market square. Koji didn't understand why they hadn't hired anyone if there were people here. At least they have such a handsome guy and a beautiful princess helping with the recruitment. What else do they need besides handsome coworkers? Where did he go wrong? Tina realized what his train of thought was, even after he did all those advertising designs that looked questionable. It talked about a bright and cheerful workplace full of beautiful women. Coming here every day, you'd feel like it was destiny. Alice saw that Kagami-san was in complete hopelessness. She hoped everything would be resolved well. The girl hit on a strange man. She apologized since she wasn't looking where she was going. The man she saw gave her a look of horror. The girl stood awkwardly in front of the man. He admired the lovely young lady, like an angel. This was noticed by Koji. The man realized that it looked rude of him. He apologized for the late introduction. He is David Forn, a level 77 merchant. As far as they can ascertain, he is a humble servant of the royal family of the Sidorian kingdom. He has come to fetch Mrs. Kururu. He was embarrassed by this fellow. Koji shouted that there was a pervert here. This man was staring at pure and innocent girls as if he wanted to lick them. People agreed with him. Just look at that dead stare. David tried to explain that it wasn't. The guard suggested he walk with them to the post. Alice asked to let the man go. He had done nothing wrong. The girl is sure he had his reasons, but she thinks it was a pretty bad thing to do. Koji notices that her words seriously hurt. It was quite a surprise to David. She had actually saved him. He was grateful to her. She is actually a wonderful person for her young age. David decided to ask the boy another question. Could he find out exactly what, for heaven's sake, he was trying to do? Koji admitted that he was trying to embarrass him. He had said himself that he had come to get Kururu, and he was sure he had some ulterior motive. David hopes he is not making silly excuses to get out of the situation. As he suspected, he has a case that concerns everyone. The princess recognizes David and asks what he is doing here. As soon as he noticed Kururu, his mood changed. The man confessed how glad his heart was to see her in good health. He almost wanted to pounce on the above radiant beauty. Koji realized that in the end, he had actually turned out to be a pervert. The princess was very sorry. This kind of thing happened when they first met, but that's the way David Dono. They also hadn't seen Rex in a while. The man apologized for the late greeting. Rex suggested they talk somewhere else instead of standing here, to which he agreed. The boys gathered at the cafe. Kururu now decided to ask what he was doing here. David apologized for being rude. A report was received that instead of continuing her journey to destroy the Demon Lord, she had decided to stay in this city temporarily. He had come here according to the king's personal orders to verify the report he had received. Rex realized that he had come to retrieve Kururu. The man admitted, even though she had actually stopped her journey to destroy the Demon Lord, he had no such intentions. After all, destroying the Demon Lord is the highest priority for her as a sage. The princess revealed that they are training to defeat the Lord of Darkness, and at the same time, they are raising funds to purchase suitable equipment. This was the method Kagami-san used to reach the 999th level. If they used it, they could become stronger than before, and so they decided to stay here to train. Her goal hadn't changed at all. She asked her father to tell her. Tina thought it was a great excuse. It turned out that they had received a report that Mrs. Kururu and Mr. Rex had been tricked by a peasant. Since a lot of adventurers had witnessed the incident in Salaria, rumors about it spread throughout the kingdom. His sources had told him many things, including information about their whereabouts. The boy wondered what he was trying to say. What is he getting at? Just let him say it already. David let him know he should be quieter. It's true that he came to take the princess away. However, it has nothing to do with his true purpose. The report said that they were making preparations while still searching for the demon lord whose whereabouts were still unknown. If what the princess said was true, there should be no further questions. To confirm their claims, he wished that they would at least allow him to observe their actions for a month. Koji found it rather stressful to have your life being watched. Although David himself would hardly have believed it, given their success during the Salaria incident, it was not unreasonable to assume that if they had actually wished it, they could have easily defeated the demon lord themselves. Koji called him an idiot. He asked him not to underestimate the weakness of the peasant. It all worked out because of the strong magic, healing spells, and the quick help from the others. That was why they were able to somehow endure. Tina had noticed that he became very talkative during difficult times. Moreover, didn't he know that Salmeria's opponent was not the demon lord, but his servant? If it had been the Lord of Darkness in his place, there was no way they would have won. That's why they are saving up and improving their equipment and gathering allies. Rex and Kururu, in exchange for helping him become stronger, help him raise the necessary funds. David understood him. In that case, should he believe that they are now trying to recruit more comrades? If they would allow it, he would like to help them do so. He may be an observer, but he is first and foremost only a humble servant of Kururu-sama. Valman Square. Takako had just come to see how they were doing, but in front of them was a crowd of people who were asked to line up. These kids, what spell were they using? Among them she noticed a strange man. Rex wanted to know what he had done, even when no one else could attract anyone. David simply tidied up the information on the flyers. After all, everyone would be nervous about applying for a job that had just come up. Rex was surprised that the content was so organized and clear. David asked to be allowed to help run the casino as well. Takako realized that everything was going well. Tina replied that it was all thanks to David-san's work. It seems that they will be able to recruit enough staff. Takako was interested in a man who could work. She introduced herself, adding that she hoped they would get along forever. The boys were noticed by Koji. Tina and Takako sent him to hunt monsters already. The man asked Kururu-sama to let him wake her up every morning, which she didn't like. Rex advised the boy not to let it upset him. He would join him on the hunt after he finished his training. Koji refused. Rex needs to clean up. Much more importantly, these two, they get along well. As far as the hero has heard, David Dono has been serving the royal family even before Kururu was born. You could say that it's like he's part of the family. He thought something was bothering the guy. Koji admitted that this month of supervision seemed rather unexpected. No one had been watching them before, so why did David show up now? As Rex realized, he thought it had something to do with the fact that they had abandoned their assignment. Koji guessed that something was wrong. He advised him to be careful, especially in front of Alice and Mino, which David himself pointed out. The capital of the kingdom of Hekel Sidoria. Throne room. The king heard the news about Kururu. He cannot believe it. A level 999 peasant and a demon who wants peaceful coexistence. Palna has stated that she is telling the truth. The truth was that she suspected that they had deviated from the king's desired path. The girl inquired about his opinion. King Simon could not bring himself to believe her words so easily. However, she knows too much for it to be a mere deception. To be able to break the will of Kururu, who by definition should have despised demons. What kind of person is this peasant? Palna didn't understand what she meant should by definition. The king explained that it was achieved through rigorous training. So she's saying that his daughter has changed. And was it caused by that peasant? He wondered why it didn't affect her. In reporting this to him, is she hoping for wealth or position? Palna replied that neither wealth nor position interested her. About why it didn't affect her, everything seemed so strange that she could not understand. He asked what she wanted then. Palna wanted a world where demons didn't exist. As it was said, she had come to dispel his fears about the condition of the person in question. King Simon suggested that she, too, bore a heavy burden. The girl remembered the boys. She believed that demons should be destroyed. The royal library. Palni was 9 years old. Magic, it is said to be a combination of accumulated knowledge and creativity. And it is only through this knowledge and the body's connection to magic that one can actually visualize and control magical energy. Without having the ability to control it, however, you cannot use magic. And for the sake of expanding the level of knowledge of a hopeful magician, she was instructed to keep reading books. So she is tied to this library every single day. The man sitting next to her realized that the girl hates books. Palna asked who he was. He identified himself as just someone who was forced to come here. The boy held out a book to her. If she didn't really like them, he would recommend this one. There are more than just libraries for learning magic. This man had piqued her interest. After all, it's only a book. Palna didn't want to upset anyone, so she would return it. The guy didn't realize who. There is no mom or dad here, only him. Seeing the contents of the book, the girl was surprised. A man 2 heads taller than her, reading too many books, never parting with his glasses, and he was the one with the kindest smile in the world. It was their first meeting. Not that she hated the library so much then. The guy didn't want to go through life trapped in a tiny shell. He was a genius. His ability to control magic and knowledge was a head above the rest. To satiate his thirst for knowledge, he would set out to explore anything that caught his interest. And Palna always followed him. Without realizing it, she started calling him teacher. She realized that it was not only books. There were so many things around that were unknown to her. The teacher knew about everything. He had ideas about how things should be arranged, so he worked to put them into practice. But this was both his strength and his weakness. One day, talking with him, something surprised her. Palna was shocked by his idea of exchanging with demons. He thought that if humans and demons got along, life would be even richer. The girl asked if there weren't other ways to do it, even if he wanted to learn more about demons. The boy realized that it would take time for them to understand each other. He's sure there will be things they don't understand. The insatiable thirst for knowledge that gripped her teacher turned his attention to the mysterious enigma known as demons. And then he felt that by communicating and sharing knowledge with demons, they would be able to control the appearance of monsters. Palna stated that it was still too dangerous. The teacher suggested that what if it was actually possible? The girl tried to stop him, but he had already taken the first step and started communicating with demons. The demons were surprised to see humans in a place like this. Obviously, it wasn't that easy. The guy approached the demons, saying that for the sake of creating a stable relationship, he would like to see their daily lives. The teacher persisted and continued to visit the demon village, without taking a single guard with him, bringing countless gifts. The demons began to wonder what this guy was planning, and towards the teacher who tirelessly kept returning. The attitude of the demons began to soften. They seemed to have taken a fancy to him. Guy wondered if it was time. He turned to all of them. Since they had taught him so many things about himself, he would like to teach them the habits of humans and introduce them to the human village. He asked them to believe him. No one would harm them. The demons awaited the head's opinion, and he gave the go-ahead. The teacher hugged Palna, happy that he had succeeded in doing so. The girl could see that he had done a good job. She was so glad that they believed in him. Her hometown was chosen as the place of exchange, as it would be difficult for demons to get close to the royal capital. There were even a few people here that had seen real demons, and compared to the rest of the villages, the level of hostility towards demons was not that great. The demons arrived on a road that was normally impassable to them, all because of serious control. The teacher greeted the residents. Behind him stood a demon who decided it was time to end it all. He used magic to pierce through his body, forming a large hole. The boy fell to the ground. The demons were ordered to take them. Palna didn't understand how it had come to this. She was approached by a man who asked her to run away. She remembered the teacher asking them to believe him. Nothing would harm them. The girl laughed hysterically. What were they even hoping for? The royal capital. Many years had passed since then. She was thinking of forgetting all that and living a normal life. And then she met them. The two who were sent to defeat the demons and their lord. She won't let them take him away from her. The chance for revenge that finally came her way. Even if it was her teacher who killed her. The god who created this rotten world. She read the invitation to Valman's new venture, Kagami Kuji's casino. Palna will force the peasant to return it to her. A training cave. The guys were practicing their abilities. Kururu was using physical reinforcement. Rex was about to strike with a fist he was more than confident in. After punching the hero, Koji decided to do it again. Rex asked the reason for his punch. The teacher didn't understand what was the point if he was using body enhancement magic. The point was to overpower an opponent stronger than himself. Rex replied that it's a level 103rd Berserk Mage, and he's only level 91, and he also doesn't have any equipment. There was no way he could win in such a disadvantageous battle. Koji explained that by fighting in an unfavorable battle, he not only gained experience because of the level difference, but also gained invaluable battle experience from fighting a stronger enemy. He had told him that, right. Besides, it would be a good idea to get used to fighting in unfavorable conditions. If they ran into trouble, he would come to the rescue, so they could fight wholeheartedly. Kururu decided to heal him. Rex went on the attack again. In response to the blow, the monster directed flames at him. The teacher reminded him that the monster was stronger than him. It's best to be patient and stay on guard. The hit and run tactic works best. The princess asked permission to treat him. Koji saw that Kururu still had plenty of strength. That's a good thing. She will be able to get stronger little by little. The boys were found by David. He thinks that Kagami-san is just concerned about the princess's well-being. Sages are easily killed when they risk being too far from their rearguard position. Moreover, from Kagami-san's words, this kind of battle is always fraught with danger. She wouldn't be able to become stronger by constantly avoiding pain. The girl replied that because Kagami-san is a peasant, which is much weaker than her. The guy explained that he didn't feel like dragging her into something painful or scary. After all, she was a girl. Rex resented that his pain and hardship was a different matter altogether. He was answered that he was, after all, a guy. The hero fended off the monster's blow just in time. Koji contentedly watched him fight, and he became stronger. Despite the pain, he no longer hesitated. Heroes are burdened with great responsibility. He wondered if Kyoru would be able to endure something like this. The princess turned to Kagami-san saying that at the beginning of their journey, she had a 42nd level. Since then, she had only increased it by 3 levels. The guy decided that she probably shouldn't act recklessly then. He had an idea that could help her level up. Exhausted, Rex called out to Kyoru. The girl, overjoyed, replied to Koji that if she could reach level 200, she would do anything. The boy hesitated. The princess was angered by the fact that he looked away. Rex asked Kyoru to use healing. Alice gave him the potion while the princess herself felt ashamed. David assumed that he still had a lot to learn about maiden hearts, but to wield such power at his age. The man wondered what had helped him become so strong. Koji replied that it was quite a long story, so another time. He originally started fighting just to collect the money left over from defeated monsters. David decided that another time then. It was good to know that it wasn't all for money. He would never be able to trust Kyoru-sama to such a person. Koji suggested that he thought he was a peasant, that he would become so powerful just for money. The man denied this. It's rare to find a peasant willing to raise his level, and even those mostly do it just for the money. Many unfortunately meet their deaths in search of strong monsters. He thought they were fools. Alice concluded that if you defeat a strong monster, you can get a lot of money. It turned out to be absolutely true. Rarely, the amounts are not up to their level, but there are also rare kinds of monsters from which a lot of money falls. Koji wondered if Alice knew a place where they could find rare monsters. The girl apologized. Even she is not aware of such a thing. One day in the library, she found a book that talked about the strongest monster of this world. So strong that even the power of a demon lord seemed insignificant in front of it. If it was possible to defeat such a creature, she wanted to know how much money would be left behind. Koji realized that it was impossible to earn the full amount just by killing monsters, which is why they opened a casino. He inquired about how the preparations were going. He hadn't forgotten that the opening was the day after tomorrow, had he? David replied that he would not allow such a miscalculation. He just had some free time, so he decided to keep them company. After all, watching them is part of his job. Koji was surprised at how cunning he was. The boy admitted that he was actually grateful. He's glad he can trust him with all this work. The first time they met, he thought he was pretty dangerous. But if he hadn't been here, they wouldn't have been able to open up in time. The man didn't think so at all. Takako-san is simply amazing. He can get the job done without relying on anyone, and has earned the respect and trust of the entire staff. In fact, a man of men. Koji, stunned, replied that Takako-chan is a woman. David found that hard to believe. The guy recalled that she wears a pink outfit. The man didn't understand how such a creature could even be considered a woman. Koji said that if Takako-chan heard him, he would be dead. It would be better for him to accept that and move on. David remembered the times they had touched each other's shoulders while working. When she'd touched his back, when she'd grabbed him from behind. All the times she touched him in strange places. Koji explained it away by saying that she was just flirting with him. Alice asked why Kagami-san had such a strange expression on his face. The guy realized that she really had a crush on him and replied that he was just wondering if he would need to find a wife soon. The girl thought that everything would be fine. He has her, after all. Koji replied that if he was still single 10 years from now. Kyoru resented the fact that he was going to marry Alice-chan in 10 years. Rex asked her to cure him. Koji of course wasn't going to. If it started to arise too much, David would start to suspect something. Alice is a demon after all. Rex kept calling for Kyoru. The princess realized that in 10 years, Kagami-san would be 30 years old. Moreover, he shouldn't underestimate himself. There was no way she would allow a wedding to happen with such an age difference. Alice doesn't mind at all. Kyoru replied that she should. Rex was still calling out to her. The hero was glad it was finally over. The teacher is unbelievable. The guy really thought he was finished. Koji thinks it's largely because of Kyoru, for which she apologized. Alice was also sorry. If only she could use healing magic too. The hero reassured her since she supplies him with potions all the time. The girl realized that she could not protect anyone at times like this, and because of this she is burdened. Her feelings alone are enough for Rex, to which the boys took notice. Koji suggested the hero to test his experience with this monster. Upon seeing it, the lad was surprised. The teacher realized that he had gained quite a bit. The death threat is quite an important factor. Rex realized how he had reached such a high level at such a young age. Koji explained that it was all due to his self-repair skill. In his case, there is Kururu for healing, so without her, he shouldn't fight against strong enemies. Couldn't have done it this fast without her. Besides, if he died, it would all be for nothing. Rex inquired when Koji obtained his self-repair skill. Since it was his first skill, he had gotten it at the 100th level. Rex wanted to have a similar skill. Koji thought that it was probably impossible. Esteller had also said that, but it was a very rare case. Besides, peasants could only learn unusual skills. Rex remembered that the teacher had a skill for self-healing, a skill for overcoming physical limitations, and a skill to overcome the set limits of strength growth. These are the 3 skills he told them about. What are the rest of his skills? Didn't he have 7 more? Koji wasn't going to keep them a secret for that long, but it wasn't something he would under normal circumstances tell everyone around him. Rex understands, but he has to know. Koji asked if he really wanted to know so badly about the skills he'd gotten. Koji knew there was no getting away from this. The guys were spotted by a few more monsters. The guy decided that then it was about time. Rex asked what he was doing. Koji thought it would be easier to show them. He asked to watch carefully and threw a rock. The blow came right at one of the monsters. Koji had just demonstrated 5 of the remaining 7 skills to them. They thought he meant that this attack was the demonstration of the 5 skills. He concluded that they still didn't understand and decided to repeat. Rex still didn't understand anything. Koji showed them his skills: automatic recovery, super finger, hyper finger, ultra finger, miracle finger, flawless finger, the 5th act of an exotic full-scale explosion, conversion, breaking the limits, and defying God. Alice thought there was too much skill with the finger. Rex replied that the ones he had already told them about were automatic recovery, overcoming limits, and defying God, but a series of finger skills and exotic. Koji thought it was simple. He would show them each individually, but let them not hope for much. The super finger skill has the effect of increasing the strength of a finger flick. Rex inquired as to how much of an increase in snapping force. It turned out that the strength of 1 finger was equivalent to the strength of 2, which didn't really surprise him. Koji decided to continue. In the hyper finger skill, the finger's snapping force increases. The ultra finger skill has its finger snapping power increase even more. A marvelous finger skill has a finger that cannot be injured while snapping. And in the flawless one, the accuracy of the finger flick increases regardless of the situation. Koji said that here they are, the feelings of a person who continued to obtain such skills until the 900th level. In short, he could overpower a slug just by throwing stones at it. Alice realized that when he lay throwing that stone, it was the effect of his flawless finger. Rex noticed that compared to ordinary stone throws, his flicks were much more accurate. Koji thought it was a pathetic sight. The girl asked about level 700. The other skills are different from his fingers. His hard work didn't go to waste. The skills sound awesome. The guy showed that the 5th act of the exotic full-scale explosion had a cool name effect. That's when he felt true despair. And the next blow was the conversion. Here, the lower the level of the wielder, the more powerful spells and skills he could use at no cost. However, as the level increases, the range of powerful skills and spells decreases. Alice realized that he could only use Charged Strike. Koji had gotten this skill at level 800. Rex recognized that this is a skill that only becomes more useless over time, and decreases the number of skills and spells that he is able to use as his level increases. And the teacher is already level 999. Koji thought it was because he originally had little magical energy. The hero was still glad that he could destroy monsters just by throwing stones at them. He was sure the other skills could come in handy too. Compared to normal skills, Koji thinks he should at least be thankful that at least his fingers had become stronger. Rex realized that at least the teacher could use them, and he still hadn't learned a single skill. Koji thought that his dream might come true. He himself can't learn a single skill anymore. And about the skills he had learned, it's better to have no skills at all than with ones you can't use or understand. Alice wondered what he was talking about. Since they had so much to conceptualize, Koji treats. The guys were looked everywhere by Takako-chan. She scared the guy. He thought it was another monster. The woman realized he was straightforwardly asking for it. The girl realized that Takako had something wrong. If it wasn't absolutely necessary, she wouldn't have come. The woman replied that something terrible had happened. She asked David-san to listen to her. He realized that they lacked goods. There was enough alcohol for the bar, but she had completely forgotten to order merchandise for the casino itself. Koji wondered if she could purchase them from a merchant. It turned out that she was planning to use top-notch alcohol, so if they bought it from a merchant, it still wouldn't be enough. The guy agreed with her, considering they would be dealing with nobles. Offering cheap alcohol to guests was something they simply couldn't do. Takako admitted that it was all her fault. He asked her not to worry. Koji is grateful for all the things she has already done. Even if they don't make it in time for the grand opening, they can order afterward. David suggested traveling to Salaria, not so far away, where the production of wine supplied to the capital is located, and returning on a supply wagon. They could even negotiate with the seller. Koji agreed that the capital sold first-class alcohol. As long as there would still be the quantity needed for the capital, they shouldn't mind too much. The boy inquired how he knew this. The man replied that he had simply already studied the matter. Takako praised David for his work. In fact, there were several other issues on which she would need his help. Just as Koji thought, he's not an ordinary employee at all. But what else is he doing here besides watching Kururu? Alice was so glad that they had David-san. The guy realized that no matter how, all they have to do is wait and watch. Opening day of the casino. Alice was surprised that so many people showed up. Koji is glad they are finally open. The girl notices that it's a little hard to move in these clothes. It's embarrassing. The guy thought it looked really good on her. Alice admitted that it was so scary. Kururu-san and Takako-san just tortured her. Koji thought it looked really good on her, so he doesn't think they meant to hurt her. She wondered if they would succeed or not. With David-san's help, all those tireless preparations, by some miracle, they were able to open their casino. As always, Kagami hunts monsters for money. The casino had just opened. The guys noticed that they hadn't been alone for a long time. The two were surprised to see the seething life in the room. Alice saw Mino. The demon turned his murdered face toward them. He thought he heard Mistress Alice's voice. The boys realized that he had overworked himself. The boy noticed Mistress Alice and admired the way she looked. He had come to life again. The girl thanked Mino for his hard work. The two set off to find Takako-chan. The boy asked Mistress not to leave him. Takako-chan was not at the bar. Alice assumed she was on a break. Koji suddenly stopped in front of something and startled the girl with it. It turned out to be Takako-chan's room, which he hadn't heard of. He decided to look inside. There were some pumped-up men having fun inside. The guy said he was exhausted and offered to grab a bite to eat. Alice was curious about what he saw. The boys were met by Rex. Koji saw that he was working hard. The girl asked where Kururu-san was. He told her that Kururu couldn't handle dealing with visitors, so as far as he knows, she should be in the rest room with David Dono. More importantly, why are they sitting there happily staring at the menu? They're busy, so now let them put stupidity aside for later. Koji reminded of the fact that they are visitors now. He can't treat visitors like that. The guy thought that he didn't need visitors like them. The girl would like a chocolate parfait. She was asked to read the menu at least a little more. The guys left the premises satisfied. Alice asked Kagami-san if he knew where Tina-san was. He replied that Tina is a priestess after all, so he knows where she should be. The boys visited the girl. Alice was surprised that they had even built a chapel. But it's kind of empty. Tina replied that of course it would be. There's already a decent church in town, after all. The boy suggested doing something since they had already built a chapel. Maybe teach people the word of God. There's even a confessional here. The girl replied that it was the priest's job. He asked about the reception room. She could inspire people to go on with their lives despite their failures and losses. Tina thought there was someone better suited to do that. Koji didn't think so at all. She is very good at listening to people. For him, at least, talking to her is easier than talking to Takako-chan. He offered to check. The priestess asked what his concerns were. Koji advised adding more holiness to the speech. Then the girl asked the lost lamb to tell her what was bothering him. The lad told her that even though he had finally built a casino, it was mostly run by another man. As a result, a strange and dangerous place called Takako's room was built inside. What should he do? Tina asked him to be strong. The two found the boys in the recreation room. The girls admired the dress, which suits her very well. It's too cute. Kururu wondered who gave her that plush toy. The princess couldn't resist in front of the girl. David informed Kururu that they had to start, but the girl asked him to wait a little longer, to which he agreed. Alice called him a traitor. In fact, the princess wished Alice had something else to wear. Takako also has something she should try on. David has to say that Mrs. Kururu has changed a lot. In the past, she was never interested in this kind of jewelry. The princess thought it was because of Alice Chan's special charm, and she hadn't changed at all. David replied that he wasn't the only one who thought so. Kagami-san did, too. All those unexpected encounters have really changed her. Alice thinks so too. Now she's quite the person to talk to. Now Kyoru can really look at her. To her, Kyoru-san is a very important person she can trust, even though there are things the girl can't tell her. Listening to her words, the princess's heart fills with happiness. Perhaps she has really changed, from thinking that they should kill this child to thinking that they shouldn't kill her. This is because of all that she has learned, including about the true nature of this world. Kagami will fight as hard as she can to protect humans and demons, even if she ends up crumpled and scarred at the end. Kyoru seems to have come to the realization that she must decide for herself. Is she really doing the right thing? Takako believed that people change because of the experiences they have gained. In fact, it would be strange not to change. David agreed with her. However, if it were the former Mrs. Kyoru, then even for the sake of money, she would show a more strained expression while remaining true to her principles. If she had decided to choose a different path, what would it have been? Alice found it strange that the change in Kyoru-san was so mysterious to him. Takako realized that for better or worse, people can change in any direction because of what they meet on their path. She stated that meeting David-san changed her as well. The man suddenly said he had to go get scheduled deliveries. He apologized, having to excuse himself. In that case, the girls suggested that Alice Chan try on something. The girl turned her attention to the gloves lying on the table. Alice pretended to be shocked, even though he was holding them, that David-san had forgotten his gloves. She asked the princess to hold her toy while she herself gave them to him. Kyoru was upset that she had left. The girl couldn't find David-san anywhere. Alice assumed that she had passed him in a hurry. Finally, she found him. As she ran toward him, the girl tripped. David caught her and took off her bow, revealing her horns. Alice didn't know what she should do. She flashed her horns. David suddenly said that this ribbon was the most beautiful. Had it really been given to her by Kagami-san? The girl confirmed what Kagami-san had made it for her. The man realized that she was using it to hide her horns. He asked to try to keep a proper eye on her. David decided to help her. He tied the bow again. Now everything looks just fine. She's as cute as Mrs. Kyoru was when she was younger. The girl thanked him. He still has some things to do, but he'll return to the rest room as soon as he's done with them. He thought it would be best for Miss Alice to return to Kagami-san. The girl handed him the gloves. He was surprised that she had come all this way to give them to him. He was so grateful to her. David was about to leave. Alice hesitated to say anything more to him. Finally, she thanked him too. In the casino lounge, Mino stated that it was not something to be taken so lightly. Takako tried to calm him down. She fully understands his concern, but they still don't know if it's true or not. Mino replied that of course they would be worried if she suddenly disappeared. The girl didn't understand what they were talking about. Mistress Alice disappeared without saying a word. He had been so worried. How glad he was that she was all right. The girl was surprised that he was so worried, even if she had only gone to give David-san his gloves. Mino pulled Alice with him. They must get as far away from here as possible. The girl had no intention of doing that. She didn't want to part with Kagami-san. He replied that this was not the right time to be childish. Takako asked him to calm down. He's confusing Alice Chan. He calmed down. Rex asked the teacher if what Mino said was true, wouldn't that be too bad? If Mino and Alice's identities were revealed, big trouble wouldn't just be for them. The girl recalled asking for an explanation of what was going on here. It turned out that Mino had learned that David-san was a spy for the kingdom, something she hadn't expected to hear. He saw David-san being strangely cautious to the point of being strangely cautious before going to the warehouse, which he doesn't do. He thought that was rather strange, so he followed him. There, Mino saw someone pretending to be a casino employee waiting for him near the warehouse. Koji asked if it was true. Mino didn't doubt it. He said that here was a report to be given to the king. No suspicious activity has been detected among Mrs. Kyoru, Mr. Rex, and their company. He said those words while handing over some documents. Mino is disturbed by his reference to the company. Even if he exaggerates, this is something they cannot ignore. Koji noticed that initially they weren't too worried about him following Kyoru and the others. As long as he helped them, they let him observe. What if there was a different reason? Couldn't he actually be watching not Kyoru but Alice? The princess thought so too. He was always present when she and Alice Chan were together, and it didn't seem to her that David was so wary of the girl. Koji realized that the people of the kingdom didn't know anything, but they seemed to have definite doubts about them. It would be quite problematic if they began to doubt the true nature of Mino and Alice. Alice doesn't think David-san tells the kingdom everything he learns about her. He's just keeping an eye on Kururu-san. Koji asks why she thinks that. The girl told him that David-san had just seen her horns, and yet he didn't say a word about her being a demon. It looked as if he already knew about it and kept it a secret. Mino knew it. They should run right now. Takako tried to calm him down. Koji reminded him of what David had said about the lack of suspicious activity. Didn't he think it would be strange to say such a thing if he already knew that Alice was a demon? Mino, on the other hand, assumed that he realized this after he handed in the report. He could behave as usual until the next report, in which he would tell them that Mrs. Alice was a demon. Koji thought there was a chance he was covering for them. If he is, then their leaving would destroy any chance of protecting them. Mino didn't see why he would lie for them. There was no way he would go so far as to lie to the kingdom. Koji didn't like the fact that he was so stubborn. He thought about Alice. The guy decided that since he was following them, they would follow him. If he reported the demons, they'd deal with it somehow. Until then, they would have faith in David, which Mino was not satisfied with. How Takako wished he had followed her. A full week had passed since then, and David-san had not told the Kingdom of Iris's true nature. He continued to report that there was no suspicious activity. However, while that problem was resolved, another one surfaced. Koji informed the boys that their sales were nowhere near enough. They get about 800 visitors a day. But, subtracting from the profits the costs, they make practically nothing. The boys knew that the townspeople and adventurers were making mostly low bids. Moreover, most of the nobles, who apparently enjoyed the games, had only come for the opening of the casino. They were shocked to see peasants here as well. But now none of the nobles come to the casino. After all, it is a casino. It can't be helped if the income is not constant from day to day. The guys advised Kagami-san to be glad that they're still not bankrupt and to be grateful to David-san. Why not thank him for the fact that this casino didn't go under initially? The guy asked them to take these lucky tickets. They would be a reward for all the casino visitors. It would bring in even more losses. David thought so. There was no way to attract the nobles. He had expected resistance, of course, but he hadn't foreseen that the nobles hated the commoners so much. David had poorly prepared himself for the situation. Koji admitted that he was the one who was too carefree. He thinks there's no other way but to create a VIP room for the nobles. Kururu thought that they don't put a bit of effort to achieve anything on their own, and still take everything for granted. Koji was surprised that even a princess like her felt that way. The girl replied that of course she felt that way. The kingdom is his people. She thinks about their people all the time, so she asks not to be ranked with them. That's not what the guy meant at all. The fact that she realizes it and can clearly determine that the nobles are wrong. He admires that about her. Kururu apologized. She got too angry. David doesn't think there will be any problem at all if they create a VIP room. Koji doubted it would make any difference at all. But if in the 1 in a million case it worked, he'd like to shovel money in. He realized he should go monster hunting to cover the difference. The boy thought about what would make him the most money. Takako suggested that he just ask Mino-chan to create a flock of hell crows. Then he could make money from destroying them. Koji remembered that when Valman was attacked, they were led by Mino. He had thought of something like that, but rare monsters were terribly difficult to deal with. One can never say for sure where one can locate the location of the hell crows. Or does she think that monster appearance locations pop up everywhere like daisies? The current sites are formed by collecting the magical energy of demons that gives monsters life. Once destroyed, it disappears. Even though a similar place of emergence may form somewhere in the dungeon, there may not be a single new monster in a whole day. Since hell crows are quite rare, it will be quite difficult to find the place where they appear. We will need to find the rare monster's appearance location. Make it absorb Mino and Alice's magical energy. Wait for the monster to appear and destroy it. Once its role is done, the place of appearance is destroyed. And again we will have to find a new place of appearance. In the end, it's too inefficient. Alice turned to Kagami-san. She asked if he had ever heard of the Dark Dragon. He knew that it was a powerful monster whose strength was equal to or even greater than that of a demon lord. But wasn't it a fairy tale told by someone in old books? The girl wondered how much money he would get if he could defeat him. Koji reasoned that the amount of money increases in proportion to the monster's strength. Since he was considered the strongest, it could be said that they would get an equivalent amount. She asked what he would do if he could find it. The guy realized that she knew where he could be found. If they had a map, the girl could show the area where he should be. Koji asked Mino to tell him about it in more detail. He suggested that they go to the restroom for a while. The alley behind the bar. Mino knew about it, but whether it was there or not he could not say for sure. To Koji's surprise, he had never seen it. There were many holes in the information available to them. He learned of its existence from the records in His Majesty's palace. His demonic majesty told him about him, but even they demons don't know much. Koji wondered why. Even Mino doesn't know why. All he can say is that it can be found not far from the royal capital. His demonic majesty told them not to get too close to him for their own safety. Be that as it may, no one has yet been able to confirm its existence. Koji is quite familiar with the lands of the royal capital, but he is not aware of any dungeons in that area. Mino found it strange to see such a guy's sudden interest in such a creature. Koji was going to overpower it since Alice said she knew where to find it. Mino could only advise against trying something like that. According to legends, the Dark Dragon is around level 500. Without considering its nature and special characteristics, even the data about its strength varies too much. They have too little information about it. Koji knows that. Mino replied that Kagami Dono didn't understand anything. The Dark Dragon's power is comparable even to that of His demonic majesty. Does he himself even realize how strong His majesty is? Mino was sure that if he were to die, everything would be in vain. He is grateful for his efforts in trying to save His demonic majesty, but if Koji died, it would bring too much trouble. Guy is glad to hear him say such words. But really, if he's trying to achieve peaceful coexistence between humans and demons, he should go through all the money-making options. Without those 10,000 gold coins, they can't save the demon lord, and war will break out again. Mino thought, is there really no other way out? Koji replied that there probably wasn't. But finding a way to earn the necessary amount of money is only one of the tasks. Don't they have problems with lack of time? They only have 1 year. Besides, he was interested in this legendary creature. In that case, he, Mino Abrashar, would keep him company. Koji was surprised that he and Alice were going with him. The guy thought it might arouse suspicion. He means that they are probably being watched by more than just David. Mino agreed with that, but Koji has no idea where the creature is. And, if the two of them go alone, it shouldn't arouse any suspicion. Guy concluded about Alice. Mino stated that he would not allow it. Koji joked that no one would surely say what demons could do to her, but she says he should definitely take her with him. As Koji has already explained, they don't make enough money. Earning 10,000 gold is still an unattainable dream. David is in charge of building a new VIP room, but no one can say for sure how it will go. The guys ask him what he's going to do. Guy announces that he and Mino are going to the dungeon to make some money. Rex protested. He was going too. It will be good training. Alice decides to go too. She's definitely going with them. Hiraru's going too. After all, it's one of the conditions of Rex's training. Koji explained that no one knows what dangers will come their way, so they don't go. Since this creature will be incredibly strong, only he and Mino are going. Alice tried to object. The guy asked her to watch the casino for him. Valman's gate. Tina asked if Kagami-san had brought his toothbrush with him. Money for food. Potions. She thought that was nowhere near enough. There were still a lot of things they had missed. She also asked about Mino's weapons, who reminded her that he had magic. It seemed to Koji that they were all overreacting. They will be back within a month. Takako explained that their leader was going on a trip, so it was natural that they came to see him off. He asked them to take care of the casino in his absence. Not that it made any difference. Takako realized that this was the case for all leaders. After all, they're the ones responsible for making important decisions. The boy believes the time has come. Alice inquired if there was anything he wanted her to do while he was away. Koji suggested just staying healthy. He wasn't joking at all. The only reason he's standing here now is because of her. Thanks to her being here, he can try his best. If something happened to her, he would lose the will to fight. The guy realized that there was nothing he could do. David asked if he needed anything. Koji had asked Takako-chan for it yesterday, but he thought he should ask him as well. The man wondered what he needed from him. While they will be away, he asked to look after Alice for him. David immediately agreed. He would humbly accept his frank request. Taoji thanked him. Hearing this not only from Takako-chan but also from him, he feels a huge burden fall from his shoulders. The guy relies on them. Then the two set off on their journey. David notices that the girl looks very upset. Alice didn't understand why she couldn't be as useful to Kagami-san as the others. The man asked if she really felt that way. Just like Kagami-san said, her very existence gives everyone strength. She is like the golden rays of the sun. Like everyone else, including him, supports Kagami-san. However, that's not the only way to do good. The girl wondered what he meant. Things like assumptions that Kagami-san hasn't thought of yet, or trying to achieve something when he has no idea about it. That's the only way to help Kagami-san. For example, if she asked him to buy something, he would certainly do so. Alice didn't know what she should do. Become a salesman. David stated that her cuteness is a weapon in itself. She must find a way to use that weapon to its fullest. Even though he said it was a weapon, the girl didn't quite understand the meaning of his words. The man explained that even without some special trait like those of Rex-san, Kururu-san and Mino-san, the very being around Kagami-san can be considered as a way of support. And in conclusion, what she can do right now is not the only important thing. Alice wondered if there was a way for her to be useful. It's not just a matter of finding what she can do. She needs to work hard to increase the number of things she can do. David will do his best to support her. The girl thanked him and turned to Kururu-san. She declared that she wanted to learn magic and shocked everyone with it. Kururu was about to start her magic lesson. It is very important to read as many books as possible to stock up on knowledge. It is said that the first step to using magic is for the user to clearly visualize it. The princess asks Alice to try hard and learn little by little more and more. Tina notices that thanks to David-san and Takako-san, the casino is back in the game and continues to improve. The staff is also sharpening their skills and can work longer hours. She thought it was strange that Rex-san was also here. The guy also wanted to learn more about magic. He only had enough time to train his body, so he didn't read much. After all, it was pointless to be born a hero with a huge reserve of magical energy and not be able to use it. Currently, he only had one sword technique in which he could use magic, a decapitating wave of heavenly fury. Rex asked what it meant to represent magic and what exactly it represented to use his hovering ice blade. Kururu imagines a piece of ice that by channeling her magic through it, she can control it while polishing it at the same time. It takes its shape gradually. With practice, it will become easier. Magic is a power that is able to utilize and consume magical energy. The organ known as the magic circuit processes and utilizes the magical energy flowing through the body. If you possess magical energy, you should be able to use magic with practice. In Kagami-san's case, because of the skills possessed, his ability to use magic is sealed. Rex complimented that they, on the other hand, simply have huge reserves of ready-to-use magic energy. The girl thought, even though they've been practicing for a whole 10 days now, perhaps she has no talent for it at all. David didn't think so. Magic couldn't be mastered that easily. However, she should continue to study for as long as she could. It is important to persevere in pursuit of one's goal without giving in to frustration. Alice agreed with him. She promised to keep trying. Now he decided to give her some advice. He would advise her to start learning only one type of magic that she would like to use. And once she had mastered it perfectly, she could definitely expand her arsenal. Alice thought about it for a moment. He asked what kind of magic she would most like to learn. The girl wants to learn how to use healing magic. That way, if someone gets hurt, she will have the power to help them. David called it a wonderful choice. He turned his attention to the clock and realized it was almost time to get back to work. He asked them all to make the necessary preparations. Rex was upset that he never got to use his holy white ray. The man did not understand him. It was the name of his last finishing blow. David suggested he hurry. Casino lobby. The girl announced that the food and drinks had arrived. People at the sight of Alice Chan thought she was the goddess of luck, which meant they had won. A man wanted to approach the girl but was prevented. The staff worried about her. Both staff and visitors are just wonderful people. If she has a problem, they come to help right away. To have the opportunity to work in a place like this with such helpful people is incredible. But all of this is just because no one knows who she really is. Alice wondered what would happen if they found out she was a demon. David finally found her. He reported that everything was going according to plan. The girl asked what he was doing here. It turned out that they had run out of a couple things. Alice noticed that they had a lot of visitors lately. Everyone is so busy. The man replied that Mrs. Kururu and Mr. Rex were helping him a lot. Rex is dealing with the rowdy visitors, while Mrs. Kururu heals the wounded with her magic. Given their notoriety, Mrs. Takako came up with the idea of putting masks on them. That way they can work anywhere. The girl wondered if he would need to take care of a lot of things. She wanted to help him. David replied that it was very nice of her. They decided to get to work, just as she had thought. She really should ask him, which she told him. The girl asked why he was keeping it a secret. He pretended as if he didn't understand what secret she meant. Alice asked him not to pretend he didn't know. She asked if he didn't already understand. What she? He assumed that the girl was concerned. Alice realized that, after all, she was, after all, an enemy to be dealt with at all costs. He recognized that what she said was probably right. He had thought so too when they first met. Alice wondered what now. It appeared that she had become too precious to him to categorize with a single word. Looking back on the short time he'd spent with her, that's exactly what he thought. If the girl is concerned that he might discriminate against her in some way, she should know that he has no intention of doing so. Moreover, Kururu-san considers Alice to be a very important friend of his. From everything he has seen, he can tell that she is simply wonderful. Instead of contempt, he feels incredible respect. Alice is always honest and kind to everyone, more so than most people he has seen in his life. In light of this, who she really is irrelevant. She is who she is. The girl was very grateful to him. David is also a very important person to her, which surprised him. To hear such words is a great honor for him. He can directly feel his body overflowing with strength. Holy Forest. Koji turned to Mino with words that were bad. He had just realized something and thus disturbed the demon. The boy stated that this journey is so boring. It turned out to bother Mino as well. Koji realized that for 10 whole days all their conversations were limited to the bare minimum necessary. There's a monster out there, let's set up a shelter. This way, it worked out. That was all Mino had said in the past few days. There must be things they can talk about, like chatting about the good old days. He thought it was much more fun with Alice. Unlike her, the guy was disappointed in him. He gave him 0 points. Mino apologized. Koji replied that he should have expected it from him. He offered to take a break here, and Mino was actually having fun. Koji thought it was much more important whether they were close to the area marked on the map. That turned out to be the case. The protagonist questioned whether he was actually supposed to be somewhere in that forest. Mino believed that based on what was recorded in the books from the Demon Lord's library, the marker is located in the center of the forest south of the royal capital. That is where the entrance to the dungeon is located. That's what it says, but they are looking everywhere. Koji speculated that the entrance might be very small. Either that or they have the wrong information. Mino didn't believe that. How could the information in the ancient books of His Demonic Majesty's castle be wrong? Koji realized that this was a holy forest. Even in the hidden regions, only terrifyingly weak monsters lived. Moreover, there aren't many of them. He had been here once before, so doesn't Mino think he would have found this awesome dungeon that time? Could a guy really not notice such an awesome looking dungeon? Since only weak monsters live here, most adventurers looking to hone their skills wouldn't even consider this place. Mino was confident that the mark on the map couldn't be pointing to the wrong place. Besides, His Demonic Majesty and even Estelar knew of its location. Mino suggested returning to the city before sunset, although he would avoid the royal capital just in case, since they might reveal that he was a demon. Koji decided it was worth a little more searching. He couldn't find anything at all. It was taking up too much time. The demon suggested they call it a day. Koji realized that they were screwed today too. They had wasted too much time here, they should go back. Mino replied that if they set off right now, they would reach the city late at night. So if they were going to camp here, he suggested organizing a watch. Koji decided to do just that. Since it was so time-consuming because of the vagueness of his information, Mino asked him to leave the night watch to him. Koji refused the offer. They are comrades, shouldn't they share the load? They could take turns on duty. Mino is tired too, after all. Let him be sure to get a good rest. The demon was grateful to him. Koji asked for one more thing. He must come up with more interesting topics of conversation as soon as possible. Mino promised to try. The boy pondered whether it was really hidden somewhere in this forest. Mino has no doubt that the Dark Dragon dungeon is hidden somewhere around here. Koji asked how could he be so sure. He had read this book in the past and came to His Majesty to confirm the truthfulness of what was written in it. He was told that although he himself had never been there, he knew that a powerful creature lived there. Based on what was written in those books, the dungeon is somewhere around here. The boy wondered what exactly he had sensed. Mino did not remember. Perhaps without being as powerful as His Majesty or Estelar, it's impossible to sense it. Estelar, too, recognized the presence of some kind of presence. It said that there should be a seemingly ordinary entrance in the center of the forest. Koji pondered this. He suggested thinking about it. Isn't there a possibility that there is no entrance at all? Mino did not understand what he meant. Koji thought that since the Dark Dragon was a legendary creature, why didn't people know anything about it? Indeed, since the text didn't say anything about how the dungeon was originally opened. The information presented in the book is too sketchy. What if there is no entrance? That would explain why only the forest is mentioned. Mino thought that if there was no entrance, how did they know the location of the Dark Dragon? Koji replied, hadn't the Demon Lord and Estelar said that it was around here somewhere? Not that there was any way to confirm that. A place that can only be entered under certain conditions, or the entrance is invisible to the naked eye. Mino decided that in such a case one could simply give up. If it is invisible, it could mean that the dungeon itself is hidden underground. Koji suddenly realized that it might be located deep underground. He decided to start digging. Nino was confused that Kagami Dono wanted to start digging right here. Essentially, this is the very center of the sacred forest, or he assumed he had some other brilliant idea in his head. Koji offered to try digging. Nino didn't know how. The boy was going to do it with his own hands. Koji frantically set to work. Nino realized that for him to do such a thing with his bare hands might be too difficult a task. A few minutes later, the demon decided that he should use magic and just blow the place up. Nino saw Kagami Dono resting and called out to him. The man replied that it was time to change, but the demon asked to take a look at it. The hole they dug was overgrown, and no one had any idea why. Nino felt as if something was telling him they could go no farther. He had never heard of such a thing. This magic defies the laws of common sense. It might even be a type of magic not yet known to them. It doesn't make sense, but Koji can't see any other way. It destroys at the root all motivation. Nino wondered if this would be the case wherever they started digging. Koji didn't think so. In the past, he had succeeded in digging wolf pits to destroy large monsters much deeper than this one. Nino concluded that this anomaly was limited to this area. In that case, they realized that there was something here. But the demon noticed that if they couldn't get to it, it was useless. It's probably such a preventive measure against unwanted guests. There must be another way to get in. Koji continued digging in the ground without thinking of another way, and noticed something strange. He began to dig more intensely. Nino was sure it was useless. He was only wasting his energy. The demon suddenly saw that recovery was failing. Koji thought it would never end. Nino figured that if he continued, little by little they could get there. However, it must be difficult to keep digging without rest. Koji replied that it was alright. He is terribly reluctant to give up and go back to the beginning again. He is going to try something reckless. Nino wondered what he wanted to do. The boy asked him to wait and he would see for himself. If things take a bad turn, he relies on him. Koji used overcoming the limit. He asked Nino to stay close. The surface rupture occurred. The demon thought it was too extreme. Koji knows, but doesn't he think it's very suspicious? Finally, they made their way out to the dungeon. They ended up falling down together. Nino felt that Kagami Dono was heavy. Koji apologized. No wonder it didn't hurt at all. On the other hand, what kind of place is this? The hole through which they had fallen had closed. Just like Nino said, the dungeon was in the sacred forest. This could mean that the dark dragon was lurking somewhere nearby. They won't be able to escape through the hole that served as their entrance. They must find another way out. There are many unknowns here. Koji interrupted him, saying that who had helped at all to think that a dungeon would turn out to be here. Nino noticed that Kagami Dono looked strange. The boy plopped down on the ground. He said he needed to rest. Valman's church. Alice had succeeded in using magic. David called it promising results for 5 days of hard work. What surprised the guys was that she had mastered 3 types of magic in just 5 days. Fire magic, explosive magic, and healing magic. Is this such a specialty of the demon race? She will definitely become a strong mage in the future. The girl thanked Tina-san for still helping her study despite being tired from her own responsibilities. Tina realized that learning healing magic could take a lot of time. Practical training in the church was most effective. She would be sure to experience the spell. Alice was only able to learn so quickly because of her. She is so grateful. Tina asked me to let her know if she wanted to learn more, although she herself is still learning. The girl also thanked Kururu-san and David-san. The princess admitted that she had decided to pursue it of her own volition, since their training had been postponed due to Kagami-san's absence. Oh, and it gave her the opportunity to train magic herself along with her. David is of the same opinion as Kururu-san. If Alice-sama is strong, it will strengthen everyone else. Alice was glad that she would finally become useful to the others because of this. The princess noticed that Rex-san was also making amazing progress, even though she had heard him say that he didn't understand why he couldn't do it. He's probably trying to combine magic with his sword techniques. Alice remembered that she hadn't seen him yet today. It seems he has some business to take care of. Tina complimented that he seemed very impatient when he dropped that he was leaving when he left. He'll probably be fine. Tina offered to work on healing all these people. David will then try to help too, even though he can't use healing magic. Kiruru will also help. The priestess offered to help these people quickly so that they could have a break soon. David knew that everyone was hungry. Since he was in charge of the place, they could order whatever they wanted. Then Alice wanted to order the Salisbury steak. David noticed something strange. He asked what was wrong with the two of them. The girls replied that it was getting rather late. Tina thought she had overeaten. David can only guess at the real reasons. However, they should take care of themselves properly. He asked them to eat at least something. Then the princess will have a salad. Alice thought it was too light a snack for dinner. David didn't think so at all. he should say. When everyone goes their separate ways, it will be very lonely. The girl didn't understand where he was going. He was originally sent here to watch over Kururu-sama and Rex-san. Soon, he would have to return to the king to fulfill his duties. He asked Alice not to make such a sad face. If she wished to meet again, he was sure they could make it. Still, the princess will be sad to see him go, just as he is. He had spent a lot of time by their side. Those days were blessed in nostalgic memories for him. Little that has changed since then is truly a gift. Tina assumed that the days he was referring to were many months before Kururu-san left the castle. Could they really not have met until now? Most likely, David-san was very busy. And yet, David-san's work is always so flawless. She's worried about what will happen when he leaves them. She's sure Kagami-san will have something to say to that. David replied that he would definitely visit them when he had free time. Alice considered it a promise. Rex suddenly burst into the room. He couldn't find them in the church, so he looked everywhere. The boys noticed that he didn't look well. He pulled them along and in response to their questions said he would explain later. They need to run right now. Rex was asked not to yell like that. Palna felt that since they were working late into the night, they really should take a break. She suggested that they sit down and take a break. The girls were happy to see her. David asked why she had come. Does she not trust him? Palna replied that it was silly. Did he really think that by feeding them false reports they would not realize anything and take matters into their own hands? He offered to tell him. Alice got excited when she saw Palna-san and headed towards her. David asked the mistress to move away from her. At the time the girl pressed against her, she took off her ribbon. Those present saw her horns. None of the people thought this child was a demon. Is this a joke? Isn't this girl from the casino staff? Palna pinned her to the floor. The royal guards came with her. Everything happened just as David had feared. He was asked how he would get away with it now. Even the king's right-hand man, Duke Militaria Ramad, arrived here. He could hardly believe the mad speeches of the witch who had once been a member of this hero's troop. And yet here they are. He has no idea what David is going to do, but it seems to be just as Palna predicted. Her report that this child is a demon has turned out to be true, as was the report of his deception. Does he realize how serious his crime is? The princess asked David what he meant. The man recalled saying that he had been ordered to come here and observe the actions of their squad. But that was a lie. Mrs. Palna came to the king and told him that Mrs. Kururu and Mr. Rex had teamed up with the demons. They had received reports of their actions in Valman before. Naturally, the king didn't believe such a ridiculous statement. But he needed to be convinced, so he was sent to investigate the validity of her claims. The Duke added that this was why David had come here. This child undoubtedly belongs to the demon race. He heard from Palna that she had somehow suppressed her magical energy. Duke thought that he could quickly verify her claim. As far as he could remember, he had received a report that said he had not met anyone who might be a demon. David asked why Militaria-san had come here and didn't believe his report. The Duke replied that not at all. He was exceptional. When David was considered as a possible candidate for the Watcher role, he was the one who approved him based on his past undercover operations. David asked why then. He replied that if it had been reported by someone other than Palna, he would not have gotten this far. He and Palna have known each other for quite some time. From the beginning he had completely believed her word. The king chose David to confirm her words, but because of the discrepancies in their reports, the Duke began to suspect something. To think that David would lie in a report. Militaria Ramad is the father of the girl's teacher. She thought that all traces of him had disappeared from this world. Palni had a hard time remembering the teacher. The Duke complimented that if he were just pampering the king's daughter, it wouldn't be a problem. But it is checkmate. He would really like to hear what he was even thinking. If there really was a good reason, the king might ease his punishment. David asked what they were going to do. With Mrs. Kururu, Mr. Rex, and Mrs. Alice. The Duke would like to return Mrs. Kururu and Mr. Rex back to the capital. The king will decide their fate. About their ties to the demons, there is a possibility that they were somehow subjugated to their will. As for that demon child, once they catch the second demon, they will be executed. He turned to Mr. Rex. However, the fact that he ran away immediately after he offered to work together in the capture of this child shows how much her presence poisoned their minds. Rex didn't understand why Palna did this. After all, she too had heard the teacher's story. Demons and humans are no different from each other. Killing the demon lord won't help anyone. There is another way. Couldn't she at least wait until they had collected 10,000 gold coins? The girl realized that he was talking about that peasant. After all, she hadn't seen him for a long time. It doesn't matter how strong he is no match for their kingdom. She doubted anyone would think they could go back to normal after being branded a criminal. Let him do everyone a favor and just turn himself in. Rex asked for a reply to him. Palna stated that she never wanted that. Tina didn't understand what she meant. Mino-chan and Alice-chan were even able to blend in with the people of this city. Nothing happened while they were all together. Palna was surprised at how naive Tina was. They can't coexist with demons. One day they would inevitably betray them, and then it will be too late. Even if Alice is a good demon, can she say the same about the others? That's why, before anyone drowns in sorrow, she will put an end to it. The princess realized that there was nothing more they could do here. The Duke marveled. That was so clever of her, which was to be expected of a princess of a kingdom. He ordered them to be arrested. Kiruru asked David to tell David before they captured them why he chose to disobey her father's orders. He replied that it was all about her. After all, she was able to smile the way she did. At this time, Takako made her way through the wall. David asked to take care of Mrs. Alice. He tossed the girl to Takako, who was able to catch her. Palna had forgotten that there was another one. To think that they would be this crazy. Takako noticed that Rex-chan looked very worried as he ran past her, but she never thought that something like that had happened. She told David, Alice, and Tina to run away. But what about Rex-san and Kiruru-san? There's no way to save them now, they need to run away. David asked them to run away. Rex-san and Kiruru-san will be fine. However, if they were caught, they would probably be killed. Alice asked about them. He replied that he would buy them some time. Mistress Alice should run. Takako decided to help him. They would escape together. Suddenly she felt a heaviness in her body as if it wasn't hers at all. It turned out to be Militaria-san's ability. No matter how strong the opponent is, it works on anyone. They must escape. Takako realized that at this rate, he would be killed. The Duke had had enough of this. In the face of his skill is nothing more than a hysterical child. Enough of this futile resistance, they can just surrender peacefully. David begged Mrs. Tina, Mrs. Takako, and Mrs. Alice to find Kagami-san and Mino-san as soon as possible. And now he won't let any of them get past him. Sacred Forest. Mino asked Kagami Dono if something had happened. The boy replied that he had just felt a sudden spasm, already released. Mino reminded him that it was his turn now. The monster was there again, which was starting to get annoying. Koji had done an excellent job with him. The guy asked to stop watching from the sidelines and help him. The demon felt that it would be better if he saved his strength in case of an emergency, and things to carry as well. Besides, if he fought them, it would take too much time. Koji has fought various monsters, but this is the first time he sees such monsters. Mino replied that there are monsters that even a guy doesn't know about. At least they are very close to the level of a demon. And they earn quite a bit, about 2,000 silver. Once here, they earned 284 gold coins in 6 days. That's quite a lot. If they appeared indefinitely, they would be able to accumulate quite a bit. Koji assumed that their appearance was caused by some action or event. Fortunately, they didn't want to attack while he was out. This place is definitely very strange. The guy won't eat or sleep. How long had it even been? Mino had no idea. But he would like to get all this over with as quickly as possible and return to Mistress Alice to see her smile one more time. Koji agreed with him. Even so, this journey is incredibly long. They go down the stairs, defeat the monsters, go down the stairs again, and everything repeats again. They discover another staircase. How many levels have they gone down so far? Mino answered that they are now on the 99th. The next one would be the 100th. Koji was surprised that he was actually counting. The demon replied that it was all for the sake of those who might explore these ruins in the future. There appeared to be no stairs. Mino thought they had reached a dead end. Or is the implication that they need to jump there? He says to jump and Koji can't even see the bottom. A fall from that height would kill anyone. He decides to try a coin toss. Mino suggested that Kagami Dono go back. If they accumulate more money, they won't be able to carry it away. Besides, jumping there would be suicide. Koji resented how anyone could even get this far without encountering a dark dragon. They would definitely go there. Mino was sure it was too dangerous. They had already earned enough. Koji threw the bag of money he had earned there. He asked him to wait here while he went to check it out himself. Mino can't let him go there alone. He would really appreciate it if Koji would listen to him at least once in a while. The boy saw something strange. He could still feel his legs. He went down there and saw the backpack. Now it makes sense. Koji realized it was quite safe to jump. Mino still doubted it. He assumed it was some sort of black as pitch space that made it impossible to see what was below. It must be because of the object absorbing the rays of light. It's quite deceptive. He found the expression on Kagami Dono's face strange. There was a dragon in front of them, and he noticed that they had done a good job of getting this far to get into his lair. Upon seeing the creature, the boys realized that it was the dark dragon himself. He said that there was only one way in. Since they were able to go through a path they couldn't even see, they must have great courage. They were good for having the courage to jump into that hole. Koji interrupted him. He admitted that they went down with the help of their knives. They did it slowly and carefully. The dragon thought it was impossible with just a couple of knives. Besides, they seemed to have a lot of things with them. Is it even possible to descend like this under these conditions? It's unheard of. Koji suggested that the matter be postponed. He asked if he was actually a monster, which the creature confirmed. They had come to one of the singularities of this world. A dark dragon. Singularities are creatures that know the truths of this world. They are the creatures that observe and maintain the world system. Koji assumed he was the god of this world. It turned out not to be so. He is nothing more than one of the singularities existing in this world. His existence is different from the divine. Then the guy realized that they actually exist. The dragon noticed the smile on his face. Isn't he afraid of him? Koji admitted that when he saw him, he was a little surprised. But after talking to him, he realized that there was no point in being afraid of him. If he were an unintelligent monster, he would probably have to kill him. From this, the dragon realized that he wished to fight him, and he should warn him that he was stronger than the demon lord. Mino did not believe this. The dragon asked why the demon had come here. How is something like this even possible? Mino didn't know what he was even talking about. The demon asked what he meant by claiming to be stronger than his demonic majesty. His appearance might be striking, but why is it that he can't sense a bit of magical energy in him? The dragon replied that a creature like him would not be able to sense his magic so easily, since long ago they had lived surrounded by his magical energy, but only those with a certain level of power could sense it. Mino didn't understand how this was possible. Could it be that both his demonic majesty and Esteller were able to sense the presence of this creature? Koji asked what he meant when he said something about the system of this world. The dragon said that it was a system that regularly created and nurtured strong individuals like him. After arriving here, didn't he feel a painful pressure to the point of being terribly painful? It was usually impossible to explore these dungeons without special items or weapons, all in order to gauge the true strength of the intruder. Moreover, those wandering this dungeon don't feel hunger or fatigue. It seems that he was able to get here thanks to some special item. And yet, apparently, he did not take any weapons with him. This is unprecedented, but this time he will accept it. At least, Koji assumed that he expected someone like them to show up. The dragon recognized that no matter how it was, they had clearly demonstrated their true strength. He welcomed them into the dungeon that only opened its doors after defeating the demon lord. Koji asked him to say, does he know of an item that can be bought for 10,000 gold coins? The dragon realized that he had heard of it. This is proof that one is unable to get hold of anything by relying on strength alone, neglecting the use of charm and wisdom. The dragon asked if he had gotten it. The boy replied that he hadn't yet. This struck him as odd. There are two important points. The dark dragon is a creature that helps nurture strong people. This place is a dungeon that can only be entered by obtaining an item for 10,000 gold coins or defeating a demon lord. He remembered how Esteller had doubted that another chance would present itself. Mino realized something. He exclaimed that they didn't kill his demonic majesty. The guy tried to stop him and asked him to just play along. Koji declared that he had killed the demon lord with his own hands. He finished him off with a single punch to the stomach. The dragon was surprised. According to the guy, he didn't expect something like this. He said that Kagami-san was just too cool. After muttering those last words, he passed away. The dragon had never heard of a demon lord being defeated in such a manner. What was much more important was why was a demon traveling with a human? Since they had gotten here, did he really fight alongside him? Koji replied that he was brainwashed. The dragon had never heard of a demon being brainwashed and didn't understand how such a thing was possible. Koji told how he had kept him locked up for 28 hours, trained him, and persuaded him with his coercion skill. With that power, he took possession of his body and mind. But the matter was still unfinished. His respect for the demon lord was evident even as he fought him. That was why he cried out when he heard the words about his demonic majesty. Even Koji was touched by his devotion. The dragon thought the fact that he was able to defeat the demon lord spoke volumes. This is the only creature he can detect being here, and now he no longer feels its presence. He stopped sensing it about 3 months ago. It took a lot of time for the guy to get here. Koji was surprised to hear that. Was it really when Esteller used the demon lord to attack Salaria? He must have used some skill to disguise his presence. Without understanding the whole situation, this guy came to his own conclusions. Koji asked if there was any reason for them to come here. It turned out that there was. His traveling here was not just so that the dragon could thank the guy for his glorious deeds. As he had told him, he had been waiting for the arrival of the truly strong men. Since he had arrived here, he could grant him one wish. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it is within the capabilities of this world. However, he must first choose one of the two. The first, his wish would be granted and he would go to the next stage. Koji didn't know anything about her. As the dragon said, only those who cross over to her have the right to know. All he could say was that the road would be filled with pain and difficult battles. Koji suggested that it had to do with the world system. However, the dragon has no doubt that he went through many tragedies to get here, so many that it may no longer be able to fight. For those who have lost the will to fight, thoughts of even worse battles seem nothing more than futile endeavors. That is why there is a second choice. After fulfilling his wish for the sake of healing his battle-weary soul, all his memories of the journey to defeat the demon lord up to that point will be erased, and he will return to the surface. The boy asked what he meant. It would mean that people would return to the surface incredibly strong, but with no memories of how they got that power, or something like that. That's absolutely true, and one day Koji will come back here again. Naturally, everyone who knows about his struggle will also lose those memories. Koji didn't understand why he had to go this far. The dragon reminded him that he had already told him. He exists only to nurture the strong. Based on all the information about the dark dragon, the guy wondered how many people had actually gotten here. That's just not possible. And then even without memories, there is the possibility that they may not be able to return here. The dragon agreed with that. But that's the way the world works. Instead of letting those who have lost their will to fight die a senseless death, it would be much more useful to take the chance that they would return here with an even greater will to fight. Koji wondered what would happen if he did not return. So this was just the limit of his power. But isn't there a better way to show true strength? Did it mean that to get here, everyone had to collect 10,000 gold? The dragon asked why. The boy replied that there was no other way. Now that the demon lord no longer exists in this world, the dragon stated that this is why all memories of that battle will be erased from the minds of all who know of it, after which the demon lord would simply be reborn. No, it would be more correct to say that he would be rebooted. Koji replied that there were no records of anyone ever defeating the demon lord, but only records. This is absolutely true. Countless demon lords have already been killed by other warriors. Mino believed that this couldn't be. Then who was the demon lord he had spent all this time serving and respecting? The dragon explained that to replace the defeated demon lord, a new one would soon rise from the ashes and take his place. Koji realized by reboot he meant that their memories of defeating the overlord would also be erased. The creature confirmed that. However, the demon lord of this era was too powerful, and because of the lack of system, one couldn't begin preparations to reboot him until the old demon lord was defeated. Due to this, it would be some time before the new demon lord would take his place. Mino asked what would become of the demon lord's daughter, Mrs. Alice, if he was rebooted. Would she also lose her father's memories? It turned out not to be the case. Once the reboot process is started, the monsters and demons will be created anew. Only humans will remain intact during this process. As Mino realized, the dragon meant that even his memories had been fabricated by the reboot he was talking about. The dragon replied that there was nothing unusual about that. According to the reboot process, all the demons of this world will be remade according to its laws, but humans will continue their daily lives. Moreover, the past reboot took place 30 years ago, so if he was born after that event, it is possible that the laws of this world are not ingrained in him. Koji replied that the demon said that God was the one who created this system. The dragon said so. If all this is happening according to the system, what about the monsters? After all, it is because of them and the demons that this world has never seen a peaceful life. Is that also part of the recorded history of this world? The dragon replied that this is the true history of this world. But in this world, monsters are creatures created for the sake of nurturing strong humans. Guy didn't understand why they needed strong humans in the first place. The dragon explained that if he really wanted to know, he should go to the next stage. He couldn't answer questions like that for him. Koji caught the gist of it. By killing monsters, he gets money. The more monsters stronger he defeats, the more powerful he becomes. This is the way of becoming really strong. This is the most rational way to live. The previous demon lord was killed 30 years ago. Esteller must have been numbed by what happened. Instead of killing them right then and there, he said that they should find him when they were stronger. The dragon decided it was time to end it all. He waited for the brave warrior to voice his choice. This was his last chance to retreat. Koji replied that he would choose none of them. He refuses to let the demons be erased. These memories, Mino and the demon lord, and even Alice, he will not allow him to erase them. The dragon considered them nothing more than creatures that would be reborn at each reboot. Koji knew he just couldn't understand that. Demons are just like them. They smile and laugh just the same. he met a strange demon that tried his best while working together with humans. He met the demon that had trained him when he still knew nothing. He even met a demon more honest and caring than the humans he had met before. It is almost blinding. The dragon decided to summarize it. Koji was going to burn this system to the ground. The dark dragon asked what he was going to do, seeing the guy overwhelming him. Koji thought that if he defeats him, this reboot will never happen, right? Dragon replied that it was impossible. God has entrusted him with this world. Koji, not thinking long, suddenly rushed to attack him. The dragon marveled at his magnificent strength, speed that was hard to match, strength powerful enough to push back his large body. Compared to those who came here before, he is much stronger, and yet so close. At any cost, the dragon would be truly grateful if he would agree to move to the next stage. The guy replied that if he wanted it so badly, then how about you stop trying to force him to make such a choice? This is quite problematic. The dragon thought it was a silly question. God created him, so he should obey the rules he laid down. Koji decided that once he dealt with him, he would tear apart the rules laid down by the god. The dragon was sure that the boy simply had no chance of defeating him. Koji asked Mino not to even dare approach. The dragon used his skill. The demon had no idea just how much magical energy would be needed for such a skill. The dragon said that it was only crumbs of his true power. His power spread throughout this world. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that it was practically limitless. There is no limit to his power. Mino realized how naive they had been. The demon thought that with Koji's level, he could overpower him, but in the face of a creature created to carry the will of God, levels don't make any sense. The two were surprised to see the living Kagami. Just as the dragon thought, he was the one he had been expecting. Mino was shocked that he lost consciousness and remained standing. Even after receiving such wounds and coming face to face with death, he decided not to run away. And even now, he did not lose his fighting spirit until he lost consciousness. The dragon recognized that it was indeed magnificent. The boy asked who said he had lost consciousness. The creature found it hard to believe. Koji doesn't know how to give up. He asked not to underestimate his determination and resilience. The dragon didn't understand how he was still able to move and how he still had strength. Considering that there wasn't much to see because of those explosions, the guy is willing to bet that he was wondering how he was able to survive, right? There was actually a little trick in surviving this attack. The dragon was sure that there was no way to defend against such an attack. Koji replied that it was actually possible. Would it explode when touched? To begin with, he hit the approaching beam and made it explode, after which he used his other hand to take care of the next one. Koji admitted that it wasn't even a defense strategy. You just need to know how to take hits. Mino called it crazy, but one could not expect anything less from him. The dragon was increasingly surprised by this man. The guy offered to continue. He would surely block all of the dragon's attacks. The creature found it strange that he was not afraid. Even in such a bleak situation, his fighting spirit remains unshaken. Is he really not afraid of anything? Does he even realize what he said to him? This attack was nothing more than a crumb of his entire strength, and yet he is willing to fight him. Koji exhaled heavily. The guy thinks that surrendering to the mercy of the world system in the face of fate is scarier than fighting. If he does nothing, he will lose the people dearest to him. Koji is more afraid of a life of regret. Dragon called him an interesting man. Then he decided to test him. Let him show him whether his words were proof of his beliefs or a pathetic show. Show him if he had the strength to follow the path to his future. If he wishes to overcome all obstacles, he must show him that he can overcome it. Mino is certain that this is impossible. No one could ever stand up to such an attack. He asks if the dragon doesn't care at all if Kagami Dono survives it. Then the dragon would conclude that his strength wasn't enough for that either. Mino asked the boy to answer him, but Koji stood by his side. Everyone was shocked to see him. The dragon didn't understand how he was able to dodge that attack. He attacked from all sides. The explosions should have cut off all avenues of retreat. Koji assumed that the dragon was unaware of the fatal weakness of that spell. Didn't he notice that regardless of the guy's location, he kept attacking the same point? This type of spell is best used against opponents stuck in one place. So by using smoke to hide and escaping, Koji wouldn't take damage. The dragon replied that this was incorrect. He could usually determine the location of his opponents by their magical energy. Koji knew that he actually didn't have much magic energy, and it wasn't increasing no matter how hard he tried. It turned out that his magic energy level was so low that the dragon had lost it. He was surprised that the guy could find such a weakness in his attacks. Koji was just testing something. Could he see him in the smoke? He thought to himself. The dragon replied that even so, it was an attack from all directions. he would still feel the blasts of those magic beams. If he was hit by even one, he would be wiped out. Still, he wondered how the guy was able to avoid them. Koji told him that he had been hit by many of them. But when he thought he was finished, he noticed something strange. When he wondered how he could avoid all those explosions, his hand became like this. The dragon didn't realize what it was. The guy suggested that he try hitting it with the same attack. After the attack, the dragon didn't realize what it was. It turned out that Koji had reflected it. The speed after the reflection decreased a bit, but he was able to add a bit with his punch. The dragon realized that he had reflected it. What he didn't understand was how such a thing was even possible. At the beginning of the battle, Koji didn't use this power. That means it had awakened in him during their battle. The guy thought that he had upset him. The dragon stated that this skill was proof of his power. Moreover, this ability is a miracle. He must be incredibly lucky to obtain the skill at the hardest moment. His level must have increased. Koji replied that his level had not increased. The dragon was surprised. This, going against all rules, strength, proof of humanity's true potential. It is undoubtedly a skill. The guy confirmed that he was right, it was actually a skill. That's why he was surprised. The dragon was shocked to find out that he was level 999. But much more importantly, he is a peasant. The dragon thought that was impossible. Peasants were those who were born without talent. No, it is the lack of talent that makes them peasants. The path he had to travel to reach such heights. But even so, it's too much. Even after reaching level 999, he was still a peasant. The dragon didn't realize who he was. The creature realizes that the guy is a peasant. It asks what he did to gain such power. Moreover, since he is level 999, it must be impossible to learn a new skill. Koji admitted that his level could no longer grow. But he overcame those limits, became strong, and even commandeered the skill. And for that, he could only thank him. Since they only get the skill every 100 levels, the guy believes he has gathered enough experience to reach the 1100th level. The dragon realized that once he reached that level, he would gain incredible strength. But that would require an incredible amount of experience. Koji had noticed that he had obtained level 999 a long time ago. Considering what had happened in Salaria, a lot of things were. And after the battle with the dragon, he had gathered enough experience to gain a new skill. It's called Anti-Magic Will, and it means that for a certain amount of time, the area chosen by the owner gains the power to repel magical forces. The guy didn't realize what he was doing. It's not like they haven't finished their battle yet. The dragon would be very sorry to kill him. Thanks to him, hope was first kindled in him. Koji asked what he meant. Dragon believed that the guy should advance to the next stage at all costs. Koji assumed that he was still going to use the reset. It turned out that way. After he moved to the next stage, new strong personalities would have to be raised. Then Koji decided that this battle was not over. The dragon didn't understand why he would go so far to stop the reboot process. Hadn't he brainwashed the demon behind him for his own benefit? Someone suddenly claimed that the man had lied. Esteller felt it would be correct to say it was all a lie. The dragon inquired as to the reason Esteller had come here. This show was so entertaining that he decided to wait until the very end. He apologized for being rude. Esteller wasn't going to laugh at them. It was just that this was the first time he had seen the dark dragon so confused. The dragon thought he had come here to mock him. Esteller replied that he had actually come here for a reason. Besides, it shouldn't be strange that he finds it also amusing. Such a reaction is quite natural. Koji asked what he had done with the Demon King. Esteller is taking proper care of him. By the way, wasn't he going to punch God once or twice? Wouldn't moving on to the next stage bring him closer to him? Koji felt that if he set aside what was important to him to fight a god, there would be no point. The Lord wondered if he would continue to call them important after learning that demons are recreated at each reboot. The boy said to think what he wanted, but to him, the existence of the demons in front of him is irreplaceable. Esteller recognized that he was actually a strange man, to think that he would continue to care about them without even knowing about their role in the world system. Koji replied that he was, after all, a demon himself. Mino stated that he is indeed blessed. He, a loyal servant of his demonic majesty, will devote his miserable life to protecting him. Then in the future, Koji decided to leave the casino to him. The dragon had been worried about something for some time now. How did Esteller come to know these two? And what did he mean when he said he was looking out for the demon lord? And what's with the claim that he's lying? The lord stated that this man had never defeated a demon lord. The dragon didn't expect such a thing from him. Since no one had come here for a long time, Esteller thought that now would be a good time. 3 months ago, he had ordered Mija to spring into action. He was going to instill fear in the people. This man defeated him. The dragon was shocked that this peasant had defeated Mizaya. The Lord realized that he still needed to realize the true power of this man. He is a true hidden treasure. He is very strange. Even with this kind of power, instead of defeating the demon lord, he tried to save him. Because of this, Esteller decided to change the rules of the game. For 1 year, no one would be able to kill the demon lord. In return, if he couldn't collect 10,000 gold coins in a year, he would use the demon lord to attack again. As Koji realized, he had lied to him to lure him here. Esteller replied that it wasn't a lie at all. If it took the guy more than a year, he would use the demon lord as planned. The guy asked who he was. The lord thinks he had already guessed it himself. He is a creature that looks like a dark dragon. He exists to maintain world order. Esteller does not wield the same power as the dark dragon. At each reboot, he is reborn as a servant of the demon lord whose raison d'etre is to maintain the peaceful life of the demons. Recent events are also a good example of his role in this world. After all, wouldn't it be bad if nothing changed, as it was in the past? The dragon suggested that back then, this person had actually collected 10,000 gold coins in such a short period of time. The demon replied that unfortunately, it wasn't like that at all. He got here by digging a hole. The dragon asked him to do it again. Esteller was also greatly surprised. He was able to dig faster than the ground was recovering. The dragon knew that this was a test that not even a hero of level 500 could overcome, for God himself had created. The Lord was sure that this person, in terms of strength, able to compete even with a hero of level 999, albeit for a short time. Even a lord couldn't predict something like this. As the dragon realized, what he meant to say was that this person had not fulfilled any of the conditions set by the lord to advance to the next stage. Esteller realized that was how powerful he was. Wasn't that enough to fulfill all the necessary conditions? The dragon didn't think so. Even though this man is so strong, he can't disobey the established rules. The lord addressed the dark dragon saying that he himself had seen his true strength, didn't he? His strength is more than enough. So far, no one had been able to bring them hope. Koji wondered about this. Moreover, the demon believed that because of this skill, he was quite fortunate. He has luck and loyal comrades on his side, able to turn things around at the decisive moment enough to even shake his faith. Isn't this man the one they have been looking for all along? Koji stated that as it was, he didn't particularly want to move on to the next stage now, so he asked to be brought back to the surface. The demon was indignant. The rebooting process was stopped. Wouldn't moving to the next stage help him achieve his goal? Guy realized that if he went to the next stage, the reboot would only be delayed for a while. But if the demon lord was defeated, the process would start again, right? So it doesn't make sense. Esteller explained that he would then never be able to advance. His goal would be forever out of reach. Would he agree to that? As Koji realized, the lord thought he didn't want to the next stage. Of course he does, but not now. Since he can't stop the reset function under such conditions, he needs to prepare. If possible, until then he would like to return to the surface. Esteller wondered what he was going to do. Koji decided it would be more fun to wait and see for himself. When everything was ready, he would return with 10,000 gold at the ready. He offered to return the demon lord to him. Although he wants to do it, he needs the power of the demon king to realize it. Esteller thought that collecting 10,000 gold was enough. Koji asked, wasn't that an incentive to make him more desperate? Even without it, he would collect them in the remaining time. If he didn't make it in time, the lord could go back to his wars or whatever he was doing. But that won't happen. Esteller felt that giving up the demon king to him would be much more dangerous. Koji figured that if he didn't make it in time, the lord could just say that he wasn't strong enough. So he asks. The dragon laughed and suggested that Esteller should indeed let. When the time comes, he will also help him bring back the demon king, so he could safely give it to the kid. The demon said that Koji was actually a very interesting person. Esteller accepted his offer. The kid saw his demonic majesty. He thanked the demon for believing in them. The lord replied that that was not the point. He just expects a lot from him. Esteller would look forward to seeing what he would show him. He can take care of his unfinished business in this world, take the demon lord and do what he must. The dragon will wait. A man with the potential to become the savior of this world. Koji found that the demon lord was already awake. The man didn't understand what had happened. The boy explained that he had slept for about half a day. The king was worried about his magic. Koji apologized for not asking permission, but he had wrapped his horns to hide his magic. He had a few spare ones for rainy days, but he never thought that he would have to use them all to completely suppress his magical energy. The demon lord realized that he had helped him again. Koji thought that this was his touching reunion with his disciple, and he could have behaved happier. The king replied that the lad had started calling himself that. By then Mino had come up and turned his attention to his demonic majesty. The man was surprised that he had made him worry so much. Nino was glad that he had finally come to his senses. The demon worried about his condition and offered to make him something to eat. The demon lord asked him to just relax. He saw that Mino was still as hyper-aware as ever. The demon asked him to apologize. Koji noticed that Mino is so easy to read. He's like an open book, especially when he panics. Nino recalled that the first time they met in Valman, anyone would be scared out of their wits if something suddenly flew from the sky. Furthermore, what was most shocking was that none of his attacks worked on him. As far as Koji could remember, it was quite painful. It even burned his clothes. Nino thought, then he should have shown that he was hurt. The demon lord laughed. The king noticed that the peasant's talent for attracting people to him hadn't disappeared. He is actually an amazing guy. Koji thought that wasn't entirely true. Even though he had changed since the last time they met, it wasn't like they were doing anything out of the ordinary. It doesn't matter what kind of human or demon they are. They should be able to get along just like they are now. He always thought that was considered normal in this world. This is absolute nonsense. That's why he needs his help, just like the old days. The demon lord replied that he had never once helped the guy. He just challenged him to become stronger himself. Koji decided then that this might be the first time he would actually help him. The king believes he has no reason to refuse. Then he suggested that the boy tell him his plan. Out of the woods, the boys suddenly came out to them. No one expected that this meeting could happen so suddenly. Alice was shocked to see her father. To this, the king said that they had not seen each other for a long time and asked if the girl was all right. Alice rushed to her father. He had noticed that his daughter had grown older and was willing to argue with that. Tina didn't understand what was going on or why the demon king was here. She also asked about collecting 10,000 gold. Koji admitted that there was no way they would have collected such an amount in such a short period of time. The girl asked where the demon lord had come from then. Did it mean that they no longer needed money? Koji replied that they still needed to collect money, be that as it may. He invited her to explain herself and tell her why they had come here, and also what happened to the casino. Tekako told her that the royal army had stopped by to see them, and that Alice-chan's being a demon was revealed before their eyes. They saw her horns. That's why they ran away. The guys hoped that by hiding in the holy forest, they could hide her aura. Mino was indignant about the situation. He assumed that it was David Dono. Tekako explained that it wasn't him. David-san had covered for them, even after finding out that Alice was a demon. The very fact that they were able to escape is a credit to David-san. Nino realized what had happened. Koji wondered how they knew then. She replied that Palna had done it. The boy asked about Kuraru and Rex. They were caught by the kingdom's forces. The boys only had the strength to escape. Given their status in society, Takako doesn't think they'll be mistreated, but she is worried. Koji concluded that the two were now locked in the castle. Takako realized that rescuing them now was not an option. After they found out that the boys were traveling with a demon, the woman asked where the guy went so suddenly. Koji replied that it was to the capital, and they are going too. Tina was indignant, asking if he realized that this time his opponent wasn't some monster. Even if he went to the capital, they would still only be considered as traitors conspiring with demons. Koji wondered. He had just noticed that a criminal icon had appeared in his status window. It turned out that Tina also had. Tekako inquired about what he was going to do. As he had originally planned, Koji would take care of business in the capital, and she decided to repeat Tina-chan's words. He does realize that this time his opponent isn't a monster. The guy replied that his opponent in Salaria was monsters and this time it was the kingdom. He will continue to act to achieve his goal. Tekako admitted that it was true, but their opponents were too strong this time. He asked her to be simpler. Koji asked if she didn't want to save Kuraru and Rex. The boy understood. In the past, he had thought that too, but they can't just say it's impossible and give up. Whether it's the kingdom or the foundations of the world itself, if they just keep smiling and enduring, nothing will change. All because he didn't understand anything. He had always thought it was impossible, so he had given up. But in the end, all he does is run away. That is why his personal credo is if it is not 100% impossible, then he will not run away from the battle. Koji urged the boys to go to the capital to rescue Kuraru and Rex. A road on the outskirts of the capital. A traveler who had almost reached the capital passed by the boys and said hello. He didn't seem to notice anything. Koji doubted that among everyone in their squad, anyone would even suspect that this feeble old man was actually the Demon King. Alice was worried about her father's condition. Takako realized that even so, each of them has the mark of a criminal in their status, but she didn't think that news of it had spread so much. The woman thought about the next step. She is surprised that the Dark Dragon actually exists. To think that the endless human desire to destroy the Demon Lord is actually part of the world system. The brain is ready to explode. Koji asked her not to be so gloomy. He will definitely deal with it somehow. The demon lord is glad Alice met this peasant. The girl is also glad that she was able to meet Kagami-san. Even after finding out who she was, he still protected the demon from danger. She cares for him very much. The king recognized that the peasant had actually grown up to be a remarkable young man. Koji assumed it was because he was a peasant. Takako saw that from the outside, the demon lord was no different from a human. To think that all this time they had been fighting him. Koji realized that the healing magic wasn't working because of some kind of curse, although he could think of something if he had the right item at hand. The king believed that he still had enough strength left in him to fight. Koji isn't going to force him to fight someone. He only wants to have a conversation. The man asked what he wanted to make him do. The guy would like him as a demon king to offer a peace treaty. Tina became indignant when she heard this. How could he propose something so ridiculous? Koji felt that even though it seemed ridiculous, he should try it. Nothing would work if he didn't try it. He reminded her how hostile she herself had been at first. The girl understood that, but they are talking about the kingdom. If a guy tries to force them to accept something like that, they'll sue them for everything they've done. Koji replied that if it was demons, the outcome would be the same. That's why they need the authorities to talk things out. And, if everything goes well, Kururu and Rex will be released. Tina thought that it couldn't be that simple. Takako wondered what would happen if he met someone who wouldn't listen and decided to start a war. Koji decided that if the negotiations failed, there would be nothing left for them but to fight. He doesn't want to drag the Demon King into the mess, so he will fight alone. Tina realized that eventually they would all have to fight. Takako called it a bad decision too. Does he think it will be possible to solve everything by force? Even if they can't talk them into a truce, Koji still wants the kingdom to know that this is the will of the Demon King. He knows it's reckless, but in order to get this message across, he must meet with the king, no matter what it costs him. Alice turns to Kagami-san and decides to tell him that she loves him. David felt that, unfortunately, the likelihood of their agreeing to such a truce was incredibly low. Tina and Alice rushed to his aid. Koji didn't think that Alice-chan could use healing magic. The girl explained that she wanted to be able to help the guy. David said that she put all of herself into her studies. As far as he could see, Kagami-san had also done a good job. Takako asked what David Dono was doing here and what happened after they escaped. Unable to save either Mr. Rex or Mrs. Kururu, David didn't want to be found when he couldn't move normally either. The woman thought the most important thing was that he was safe. David assumed it was because he was now useless to them. The original mission was to uncover Mistress Alice, and to get Rex-san and Kururu-san back to the castle. At least that's what he thinks. Koji wondered why he thought the possibility of them agreeing to a truce was so small. It turns out that the reason is the king himself. The king is obsessed with destroying demons. It's as if it's the very reason for his existence. His Majesty is willing to give up everything to destroy the demons and their lord. Koji saw that this kind of hostility would definitely become fuel for a singular purpose. After all, he is the representative of humanity. David explained that it's unnatural. He is downright possessed by demons and their lord. He's so sure because of Kururu-sama. Tina asked what he meant. Koji realized that Kururu is the king's daughter. Being a sage, she would have to fight the demon lord or whatever on the front lines. When they first met, she kept asking if Alice was a demon or not. Tina noticed that compared to how she was, Kururu had definitely become softer. David confirmed Kagami-san's words. The king made even his own daughter fight. He was the one who taught her to hate demons. He had already told them that trying to go to the capital and negotiate a truce would end in failure. But if it's for Kururu-sama's sake, he would do anything to save her. They must hurry or Kururu-sama will never smile again. It's an old story. Around the time David started serving her, she was heard to be a very cheerful child, always more worried about others. She, like Mrs. Alice, was a terribly kind being. He would have done anything to protect that smile. But the king wanted to raise Mrs. Kururu into a true sage, wanted to make her strong enough to defeat the Demon King, and so the young child had to endure daily hard training. Although she still wasn't used to fighting, Kururu-sama was forced to fight monsters much stronger than her. But Kururu-sama was horrified by the very thought of taking someone's life, even the weakest monster, and the fear due to the possibility of losing her own life restrained her in a cold vise, preventing her from moving. She sobbed all day long. Day after day she was a victim of this endless torture. Fear began to seep into her. She begged not to be forced to fight. But even so the king refused to listen to her pleas. Those days went on and on, until one day, Mrs. Kururu could no longer smile. She began to say that this was her destiny, and took part in all the battles she was forced to. Her spirit was broken. Takako believed that it was not. When they first met, she never once thought her spirit was broken. Tina thought so too, although she wouldn't deny that Kururu was going to complete their mission to kill the Demon King. David attributed it all to the king's influence. Seeing Mrs. Kururu's broken spirit, the king thought that if she couldn't fit into society, it would reflect badly on the royal family. So he restored her heart. He thinks it would be better to say that the king made it so that her heart could no longer feel pain. Koji concluded that Kururu wanted to destroy the demon lord all along. David denied this. He explained that she had always had an aversion to fighting. The boy didn't understand how it happened then. It turned out that the king had a skill for brainwashing. When Mrs. Kururu's spirit was broken, he used that skill to restore it. At that time, he also planted in her the goal of destroying the demon lord. And not only in Kururu-sama, he had done the same thing to countless strong adventurers. It was hard for the guys to believe such a thing. When David came to see Kagami-san, he was greatly surprised to see that Kururu-san could smile again. Yet he believed that it was natural. He was willing to bet that based on what Palna had told him, Mrs. Kururu was able to free herself from the king's shackles, and was even able to choose her own path. Because of that, for Kururu-sama's sake, David volunteered to be a watcher and began to forge reports. At least, that's what he thought. He realized that Kururu-sama started to change because of the people around her. Even if David had to defy the king, he wanted to protect the place that Mrs. Kururu cherished so much. He pleaded with Kagami-san, believing that at this rate, the princess would only become a weapon to fight demons, and soon she will forget what it means to smile happily like before. Alice also asked Kagami-san to do so before it was too late. Koji had already made up his mind. David doesn't need to beg him, he will save her. After all, they are friends after all. It's as if he would let the world system do as it wishes. He needs to destroy it or this sort of thing will continue to happen. Koji ran off alone again, which angered the boys. The blood rushed to his head. Kagami-san is always rushing forward. The boys decided to follow him. The capital of the kingdom of Hekazaldoria. Upon arriving here, everyone was surprised. The demon lord never thought that he would ever come to this place. Mino thought so too. The guys noticed that no one seemed to be panicking. Everything seemed quite normal. They hope they won't be exposed. Whatever the case may be, they need to find Kagami-chan before he does something reckless. The guys didn't know where they should start looking from. Takako assumed that he had already slipped into the castle. Tina hoped he wouldn't have done that. Takako regretfully realized that it was possible. Even if he jumped the castle walls, he would still need to deal with the knights. One could hide one's presence with magic, but Kagami-chan couldn't use magic. The guys didn't know what he would do then. The demon lord thought it might be a good idea to wait outside the castle, just in case the peasant decided to go there. David agreed that was the most likely case. Anyway, they are running out of time. The longer they influence Kururu-sama's will, based on the circumstances, they will be forced to find out something on their own. Takako was worried about Kagami-chan. The black entrance to the castle. Everything is quite peaceful. Takako assumed that Kagami-chan would actually come here. His demonic majesty thought that they themselves could try to save this Kururu. She didn't expect to hear from the demon lord. Something like an offer to risk her life for a human. The king realized that he too had been helped by one of these people. Why would he be any different? But since that peasant is not with them now, they will only save her. He has no idea what will happen next. At best they will all have to go through the hardship of being branded criminals. And the relationship between demons and humans will remain as it always has been. Takako realized that if they went to rescue Kururu-chan, things would only get worse. Alice noticed something. She pointed to Kagami-chan walking down a city street. The woman was glad that he had finally appeared. Tina saw that the guy was heading straight for the door, and it angered her. The guards asked what he was doing here. Does he even realize where he is now? This is the entrance to the castle of His Majesty who rules Hekazaldoria. The men began to threaten him with spears, saying that such a one did not belong here. At one point Koji left them unarmed. He, about to burst forward, declared that he had come to kidnap Rex and Kururu. Tina could see the guy certainly didn't think what would follow. Other guards arrived at the scene. They realized they had an intruder in front of them and were about to call for backup. He decided to storm the castle alone. Doesn't he value his life at all? Koji was surprised to hear this. He declared that they had misunderstood everything. He cares a lot about his life, so let them shut up and let him pass. Koji resolutely headed inside the castle, giving the guards no opportunity to interfere with him. They had been ordered to kill him. They saw that he was too strong. Suddenly Takako, whom the guards thought was a giant, came to his aid. Koji reported that they were too late. She asked him not to rush ahead. Takako was joined by the others. Tina called him a stupid idiot. She was outraged that he had acted without thinking of the consequences. Koji asked if either of them were going to go back after that. Still, Tina recalled David knowing the layout of the palace. They could have gotten in here more discreetly. The guy didn't think they had time for that. Since they didn't, the front door would be the quickest way in. Mina wondered what, in that case, he had been doing all this time. Koji, upon reflection, replied that he had been preparing. The lad was discovered by more guards, who were ordered to capture him. Without thinking, he attacked several at once with his leg. Mina was surprised. He got the feeling that they weren't needed here at all. Koji asked him not to say such a thing. He was glad they had come. The guy tried not to hurt anyone too much. As he thought, holding back was very hard. The demon lord didn't see the point in holding back. These people wanted to take his life, and he was fooling around. Koji reminded me that they came here to offer a peace treaty. If he killed someone here, they would use that as an excuse to refuse. Besides, let it be him for the sake of changing these ridiculous rules. That is not a reason to just take lives like that. It goes against the very purpose of trying to reach an understanding. The king decided that he would try not to kill anyone. The guards were heading toward them. He asked the peasant to watch well. The demon lord was going to show him how to do it. In order to make them lose their will to fight, while not killing them, the overlord decided to show them the staggering difference in their strength. The guards were shocked when they saw the demon. Judging from its immense strength, it wasn't an ordinary demon at all. Humans and demons worked together. Could it really be the same group of traitors they had heard about? Koji became indignant. The demon lord felt that there was no need to worry about their words. No matter what they did, they were already considered enemies. The king's castle showed people and demons working together. Such rumors would be quite convenient. With their help, they will be able to destroy the rules that stipulate that the very existence of demons must end. Koji noticed that this made sense. Making them worry is certainly a good thing. But the guys won't be able to go any further if they don't get out of the way. Then the demon lord decided to try this. It would be quite difficult to limit its power. With his power, he forced the guards into the air, then abruptly threw them to the ground. He signaled the guys to go. Koji thought that he had killed someone, which the king denied. The guards kept on hurrying toward the battle site. Koji struck them again with a powerful blow. The team piled up to confront their opponents. The guards armed with swords went on the attack. And yet Koji was trying to hold back. The demon lord saw that they were attacking without caring about their own lives. The boy agreed with that. This was to be expected from the royal guards. This is no longer a joke. Koji asked them if they had a death wish, again preparing for another attack. The guys saw that there was no end to it. He inquired how many more times his demonic majesty could use that spell. The demon lord believed that it would not work indefinitely. It was quite difficult to limit the power. David asked Kagami-san if they could somehow get there. The guy turned his attention to the balcony of the castle. He announced that they were moving on to Plan B. Koji told the demon lord to go there and catch the others. Then the guy decided to proceed to execute what he had planned. He grabbed Alice and tossed her into the air. He announced that Alice was next. Tina felt that he could not throw Alice-chan around, thus turning his influence. The girl was horrified when she became next. She thought she was finished, but the demon lord helped her land. The last one was Tikako. Her landing turned out to be not so soft. Koji said it was his fault. His hand had slipped. Takako realized that it was no accident. Nino realized that it was payback for the way Takako Dono had thrown him at Valman straight into the sky. Koji stated that now the real work begins. Inside the castle, David was confident that this was the right way to go. If the king was able to brainwash Mrs. Kururu and Mr. Rex, instead of recklessly searching the entire castle, it would be best to go straight to the king's chambers. They arrived at the king's chamber, which is right outside this door. The boys were caught up by the guards. They could see that they simply had no idea when to retreat. The guard declared that as long as he was still breathing, they would not pass. Takako and David decided to detain them and let them go. Koji asked them not to let themselves be killed. If Militaria-san was waiting for them behind those doors, David asked them to beware of him. Koji did not know who he was. David revealed that he had helped Palna capture Mrs. Kururu and Mr. Rex. He is a nobleman with great influence within these walls. He doesn't know the details of Militaria-san's skill, but he has the ability to reduce the characteristic values of his opponents without affecting only magic. Koji felt that he had enough trustworthy companions that would look out for him, including the demon lord. It'll be all right. They understood. David asked them to take care of themselves and save Kururu-san and Rex-san. Koji was about to open the door. Behind her stood Palna, who thought it was too late for the party. Koji thought she said it as if she had been waiting for them. The girl observed that he was partly right. His Majesty seemed to be interested in them. Besides, after all, they had gotten here so quickly. She was surprised that Alice-chan wasn't going to hide her horns anymore. The girl declared that they were no longer going to hide their existence. The king was amazed that demons were working together with humans to reach the throne room. This is definitely a first. He asked if they had killed all the soldiers guarding the palace. Koji stated that they had not killed anyone. The boys noticed Rex and started calling out to him. They realized that this was what David was talking about. Brainwashing. The king asked them to relax. It's just a little hypnosis to make him humble and obedient. The king can only use his power on one person at a time. Once he has properly processed the first one, he will continue to work on him. Koji realized that he was talking about Kururu and asked where she was. He pointed to that tower. She is now taking the test to receive her father's baptism. The boy didn't know what he was talking about. Despite the talent she has been given, she lacks the willpower to use it properly. After brainwashing her once, he thought she would be fine. But to think that instead of moving toward her main goal of destroying the Demon King, she would start thinking about unnecessary things. Hearing this from Palna, he couldn't believe his ears. This is deplorable. Koji didn't understand why all this was necessary. It shouldn't matter whether she stops thinking about killing the Demon King or not. So, lest her resolve be shaken a second time, the king is going to use his brainwashing on even the deepest parts of her mind. Once his skill is activated, the other party cannot resist it. Without outside interference, the brainwashing will continue until its completion. That was the reason why he locked Kira away. That way, nothing could interfere with the process. Kagami-san was going to go to the girl, but he crashed into something invisible and couldn't get through it. The king suggested that they surrender. This barrier will repel any attack. It is a special function of defense against external threats. They can't break it. Alice healed Koji. The Demon Lord realized that thanks to this barrier, they were now trapped. Alice found that hard to believe. The girl realized that they had to get out of here. If they didn't, Kururu would be in big trouble. Koji tried to reach the princess. The king suggested that he surrender. This barrier won't let any sound through. His voice could not reach her. He decided to calm the boy down. The king offered to talk. He came here because he wanted to tell him something. Koji was surprised that he wanted to listen to them. The king would listen to his thoughts, so let him talk. The boy stated that he wanted to sign a treaty. A truce treaty between humans and demons. Can't they stop fighting? Whether they can create monsters or not is the only difference between them. And to prove it to them, they've all come here today. The king has no doubt in his confidence that they can coexist peacefully. However, it is still impossible. Koji didn't understand why he was so sure. Is it because demons create monsters? If monsters were the problem, couldn't humans and demons look for a solution together? The king called this suggestion fascinating. He wondered who he should sign this treaty with that demon, or with him, the human, who represents whom. Koji announced that the representative, the demon lord who is here. The ruler was surprised to see him. The guy explained that the Demon King had agreed to make peace with humans. He was the only one left. All that is left is for him to agree, and the world can be changed. Koji asked if he knew that after defeating the Demon Lord, they would all be reset. All their memories of defeating the Demon Lord would be erased and a new lord would be created. This war will continue indefinitely. Palna and the king asked what he meant. Koji told them everything he had learned about the system of this world from Esteller and the Dark Dragon. The king laughed hysterically. He stated that this was actually the most important part. In order for the reboot to be accomplished, he sent their strongest representatives to defeat the Demon Lord. The boy heard about it from Esteller and the Dark One. Dragon, wasn't it? He wondered if that had ever happened to Koji. If demons and monsters exist to maintain the balance of this world, then they must exist to select the best members of this world. Koji found this hard to believe. The king suggested that we stop talking. Militaria noticed something strange with Palna. She guessed that he had known all along. The man replied that he should naturally know about it. However, knowing doesn't change anything. Once everyone was reset, the Demon Lord would be created anew. After all, demons could only be their enemies. The girl agreed with him. The king decided to start with the Demon Lord. King Simon thought it was strange that he was so surprised. Doesn't he know he's the king? His power is quite problematic, so he decided to lock him up somewhere. Alice was scared for her father. He believed that the Demon King, as his role demanded, should die. But the time had not yet come. There was no need for these two demons. The strength of a peasant and a priest is valuable. He was going to brainwash them. Koji wasn't going to let him. They were not tools for their war. The king realized that they were definitely not tools for war, but it would be problematic if they refused to fight for him, especially someone as valuable as Koji. With his punch, he stopped the guy. Mino was worried about Kagami Dono. Palna asked the guy if he realized he wasn't fighting monsters. It's not like he doesn't think things will be the way he wants them to be. Koji felt his body poured with heaviness. It seems that other than his physical strength, there is nothing remarkable about him. Militaria reported that with the help of his skill, the guy's physical strength was reduced to almost zero. Koji guessed that this was the same Militaria that David Dono was talking about. In that case, the guy decided to overpower him first. Rex prevented him from striking. By this time, the king had come up with his sword. Rex also helped him by using a beam of holy white lightning. Koji realized that things were bad. The guys called Rex a bastard since he hid such a crazy attack up his sleeve. Tina knew he had studied her while they were away. She didn't think he had completely mastered her. The girl was going to heal Koji. There is so much blood here. The boy was pleased that he was trying hard too. He recognized that Rex was using it well. Tina asked him not to move. King knew it would never end with her, so he got rid of her. He told Koji not to worry as he didn't kill her, considering that she is quite valuable. The guy asked Mino to cover for him. The demon knows what he needs to do, but his body is so heavy. This power is just not normal. Militaria contributed to this. The king decides now and see how much Koji can resist. The boy drew his sword. He was right to prepare himself. Mino didn't understand what it was. Koji had prepared it for an emergency. He couldn't go in empty-handed. The king replied that it would turn things in the lad's favor. His sword clashed with an enemy sword. This interested the ruler. Rex also interfered with Koji. Palna directed flames at him and the demon. Both were able to survive the attack. The king thought it was already time to surrender. If he just gave up on that demon spawn, he would have a better chance in a battle with them. Koji declared that he was never going to surrender. Then the king, swinging his sword in front of the girl, asked to be allowed to finish it for him. Koji rushed to Alice. The boy managed to protect her from the sword blow. As a result, he himself was badly wounded.